Listen, think, act, repeat.
Welcome to the Left-Wing Kingz podcast. Today we're going to be exploring the re-education of the black male, the musical journey of Eddie B, and the top moments of the 2024 Democratic National Convention. I'm your head moderator in charge, otherwise known as your HMIC Malik, and I'm joined today by King Ace.
What up, what up?
And our special guest, Dr. Eddie Brickerson.
Yes, sir.
Dr. B, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
A little bit about me, man. I'm a music guy, man. I think that's what I grew up in. Just a guy from originally from the Midwest. Came to Texas when I was young, military family, and just always kind of been a kid that was exploring, reading, learning. Just wanted to understand the ways of the world and how things was moving and what was my place in the world. And spent a lot of time, discovery, but also recognizing that. I'm a doer. I'm somebody who wants to get things done and take action to make things happen. So,
you made some things happen. We're gonna talk about that. You definitely made some things happen.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I classify myself as a kind of like just a man of all things, man. A jack of all trades, a master of none. Just somebody who just see it and conquer it and just try it. Put yourself out there, for as many different activities and see how far you can take it.
Hey, man, we appreciate you bringing your expertise and your knowledge to this show. You ready to do this?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm ready, man.
All right, let's get it. So our first topic today is going to be 5 tools to help black men see the value of education. So in a world where gig work, social media, sports and entertainment are becoming increasingly prevalent, it's essential to kind of highlight the importance of education to our youth, because sometimes they just don't see the value. They're looking at all these other things happening around them, and they're like, I could do this, I could do that, and education is kind of falling off, man. So today, we're going to discuss some ways that can help inspire our young black men to pursue higher education. And I'm going to start off with tool number 1, which is mentorship. So mentorship can have a profound impact on black youth by providing guidance, support, and real-life examples of success. Dr. B, how have you been able to leverage mentorships to help youth in our community?
With me, it's really just been about giving back with whatever your expertise and whatever your talents are. I think a lot of times we shy away from it because we feel like maybe we don't have anything to provide to the youth. But if you're a mechanic and you know how to fix cars, that's how we used to do it old school.
Yes,
I remember
sir.
back when I was young and my granny and everybody, we used to have block parties. And so people just used to share whatever knowledge that they had on the block. It was everybody raised, it was a community, and we raised each other. And that's how we learned, whether it was through the church. And so I've always tried to get back where I feel like, where are my strengths, right? And my strengths have just historically been in music, the understanding the power of music and how it really helps. It's a love language. It's a language that allows us to communicate in a way that it doesn't matter what race or culture or wherever you come from. It's a common language that we can all speak. And so for years, I've been invested in giving back, mentoring within the schools. I've done that every year since I was 18 years old, since I graduated. I've spent over 20 years really working with the schools, and it wasn't anything I needed to do loud. I didn't need to scream it from the top of social media platforms. Like, look at me, I'm over here, doing this
show
thing.
off.
No, not at all.
Exactly.
None of that.
Exactly.
Because when it's genuine, you do it. And
Yes, sir.
When I was fortunate to be in a music group, we was on the south side of Chicago in the schools. We were in the inner cities, and I learned from those moments. When I had my opportunity and I was in those places, like I always wanted to continue that. And so
That's right.
when I came back to San Antonio, I connected with, at the time it was assistant superintendent of Judson ISD, rest in peace, Dr. Marcus Nelson. But he was the individual that I was able to connect with, and we got into schools, and he allowed me to use music. It was,
That's what's up.
he understood that he had students that were different, but he understood that, hey, if we can connect with them through rap or whatever form or channel that they're accustomed to listening to, let's connect with them. And so we used that power, and we were able to reach them and inspire kids through songs. And I see people to this day where they're like, oh, I remember that. Like, I remember, the jingles. And I remember I used to think that, because we would take songs that were out there. Shout out to my boy, Bu Stevens. We would take songs that were popular, and then we would completely flip them and remix them. And so when we would do that, that was our form of, like I said, mentorship. We were reaching the kids to where we were teaching them education through these songs.
That's what's up.
And it just resonated, man. And so to this day, kids still come up to me like, yo, I remember,
They grown
those
now,
jingles.
though.
Yeah, they grown, but it got them through those moments
Yes,
where
sir.
you're struggling and
That's dope.
so we just use that power.
That's
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. A good hands-on approach to,
Right.
getting in there, and I think that's kind of what you're focusing on. Doesn't matter what you do. You can do that, like you said, in neighborhoods, but also corporate America. People
Yes,
come
sir.
get
Right.
hired or whatever, and you see somebody there and show them how to navigate in a room of sharks. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, mentoring, I think, is a big part of getting to these black males. It's funny, since before we had the meeting on Wednesday, seems like every day I've been talking about this in one way, shape, or form. And I said a couple of days ago, I said, look man, black girls got the memo. And I look at my
They
family.
sure did.
Yes, they do.
Black girls going to college, getting their degrees, starting up businesses or something. But it's something about these black males where we just missed it. I don't know what it is.
Well, and I'll tell you, I did something that, the older you get, I didn't grow up in the social media the way it is today.
Right.
But one day I jumped into a TikTok conversation where we was having that same discussion, and it was black females talking about their prerequisites, or their requirements in dating black men, and there were certain things they felt like, hey, if I have a degree, I expect, the person I'm with, maybe have one. And then, of course, some of us, our guys came in and black males, and they were going, well, but what if I have this? Well, what if I have that? They was trying to kind of negotiate that. But I'm like, if that's their standard and they're telling you, hey, I want someone who has a degree that brings something to that situation. I mean, who am I to say, who am I to argue with that?
That's
I
right.
mean, I had to understand that perspective. If we're changing the tide, we're going out here, we're fighting the good fights, we're putting ourselves in the conversation, we're having those healthy debates, we're represented in these corporations, and we're doing the things that we need to do to be at the table, then we got to do our part as well.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I had a young lady, it's funny, that works with me. And like I said, man, since we had this meeting, every day I've had a conversation. And she was on the same thing, young, she's in her 20s and kind of saying. And I told her, I said, you know what, I don't, and I understand that there's prerequisites. I said, but he's at least got to have drive like you do.
Right.
That drive's got to matter.
Right.
I mean, dude may, be an ASC mechanic, you know what I'm saying? And that's his drive or whatever.
Exactly.
I say, but if you outdrive him, I can see why you don't want to be with him. Like, you driving and getting degrees and stuff, and and my cat is just, okay with trying to be a TikTok influencer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, nah, that don't match. You know what I'm saying?
And I'll say this. It's probably a lot easier to say when you have all the degrees, but I didn't have them at one point, right?
Exactly.
This is something I had to do. I had to really put my hands, throw my hands up and say, okay, let me look at the deck. I did all these other things, and we'll get into that. But I did these other things where I shot for the stars, right? I landed on the moon. And I noticed that I wasn't getting the level of respect. I wasn't getting the opportunities. I was getting overlooked. Even though I had the experience and I had the knowledge, nobody was respecting it because I didn't have the papers associated with it. Because I was always thinking too, like, hey, if I go out and do the work, it should matter.
Right.
And that's when it really, and then I think what really hit me was I realized, wait a minute, I went through, K through 12. I never had an African-American male teacher, and I'm not talking about coaches or, principals or anything like that. I didn't have a single male teacher that was African-American. As I started going through college, same thing.
Right.
And then I started to realize the power in that. Like, that's what really, made me want to focus and get into academia. It was understanding that I might be that person for so many other kids that didn't even see that possible.
Yeah.
And what can we do to change the tide? Because two, I also start realizing there's opportunities in education and research and really doing our due diligence and understanding and writing our history. I know we're going to get into that, but being able to write our history, having an understanding of the research that it takes to get the stories correct, and who to go to, and just doing things correctly. And so just having that power and that understanding.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I mean, a few things that you said really resonated with me. The first thing that you said was around community. So
Right.
this is going way back to the beginning of the whole conversation, where how we used to get down, like block parties, and then you would learn things
that.
about your culture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That you would learn. And we really need to embrace that again, and really need to be able to share everything. It's not all about, like, education is around, like, learning. it could be learning about your culture. It could be learning about the right way to live life. It could be like you can get, like you said, you might be getting your ASE for your mechanic, and that's your drive. But your next drive might be to become the head mechanic, or to be the manager, or you still have a drive. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, that whole culture and the community and the brotherhood, like that we don't all have sometimes, and we all need, is really important. The second thing was talking about like groups and like what groups are out there as to be able to support Black men in their journey towards educating themselves. And one of our homeboys, Wendell Rover, he goes by Tex Rover on Facebook. What's up, Tex? Is in a group in Atlanta. It's a men's group. And y'all talked about how the women are all united and around like educating themselves. This group is around Black males bettering themselves, the power that we have, leveraging that, and also education and community and things like that. So hopefully, Tex, you hurry your ass up and bring your program here to San Antonio, man, because we need you out here.
We need that.
No doubt. And then the third thing was the point that you just made around I just lost it now. So I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to just move on because it doesn't make sense to just keep dwelling on it. But you did bring up a point about social media that you did. You brought that up, how like he wasn't big on social media, but social media is big today. You know what I'm saying? And that's tool number 2, the digital literacy. So there's workshops that teach digital literacy skills that help Black youth leverage social media and other online platforms for educational purposes. So basically, how can you leverage social media to help you learn, right? And there's a lot of different ways because people are leveraging it today for things like, just like you said, something you didn't do, like trying to show off, right?
I was going to say bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. Trying to show off some
We
bullshit.
the biggest comedians, man. Everything's
Get some giggles, shit like that. But you can learn that shit. You can use it to learn. So, Dr. B, how does the inclusion of online platforms influence our youth to continue their educational journey past primary school?
I think it's very instrumental because I'm at that fine line where I'm raising two young Black males, and I have to understand that I don't want them to be at a disadvantage if I'm not allowing them to use the technology.
Yeah.
But I also understand that I don't want them to have too much of that time to where it's distorting their minds and their understanding of their growth and what they need to do to develop. And so it's the new medium, right? Our phones, classes are being taught through cell phones. All these things are happening. So what I'm recognizing is it's okay to have an understanding, but spend some time really, truly researching. So I hate when I see people like, they start speaking on topics, right? But they're speaking on it from this perspective of like what someone else said on Twitter. Like whatever the narrative is, they
that
just
meme mentality.
Right. Thank you. The meme mentality is like drives me
the worst
absolutely
thing.
crazy. It's like, no, get
I
away
hate
from
that.
that. That's not research. Like
Nah.
deep dive, like really go to reputable sites that do this and start pulling stats. Like, I try to go to like Pew Research. I try to go to Gallup, some of these bigger companies, and I pull and look at articles and I try to see where we stack. And my favorite one, not my favorite one, it's the worst one, but it's the one I've been quoting because it really, really took me back was when I looked at, they did a study a few years back and they were talking about the average household family by race, how much they make. And I don't know if y'all seen that study.
Yeah.
But it said that, the average white family was making, at the time, I think it was 171,000. And it said the average Black family makes 27,000. So it was like, for every dollar the average white family makes household income, we make 10 cents on that dollar. That's what it averaged out to. And I thought, first thing that came in my mind was, wow, there's a lot of capping going on in our community, man. A lot of real big capping. Big capping. Like, because all you money bricks and we got all this money, we got 27,000. And then that's the median. So the big ballers are stretching that number, and that was the number.
But the funny thing is, and I'm just gonna bring this up real quick, like, when they're holding that stack, whose money that is. It ain't theirs.
Like, behind the scenes money.
Yeah, that's that money that they generated through the sales of whatever they were selling that is going to somebody else. They just holding it at that moment until they give it to the proper owner of those funds.
And let's be real. People who got money in the bank, ain't nobody gonna go out and just pull out all them bills and just have them around for what?
What?
You can't keep track of that. Like
Hell
everybody know
no.
you can't keep track of no hard cash. Like
No.
So yeah, but yeah, these kids be showing off, man. But yeah, that's crazy, man. 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, and
There's a lot of broke
again
people out there.
A lot of broke people, and I know we're gonna get into that affirmative action, generational wealth comment. Talking about the DNC, but but that goes to show you, like, when I look at that piece of it, like, that's the part, again, education. Like, what are we doing? Financial literacy, like, how are we impacting the curve? I'll tell you all a story. Again, I'm in the schools and I'm talking to the students, and for years I would go to different schools, East Central, and shout out to the school districts there that would have me speaking, and I would like to talk about banking and talk about financial literacy. And I know I get it. A lot of times the kids are enamored with the police officers, the wrestlers, the firemen, and all those fun things. And I would try to talk to them a little bit about, the fifth graders. Hey, are y'all investing? Do y'all have a bank account? Do y'all have this? Do you have any, like, a debit card? Anything that you're using to understand financial literacy and how money works, and any kind of money instruments. And a lot of times it's foreign language, man. They have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, it really hit home at the time when my daughter was in fifth grade. And I was able, she goes to private school. She's been in private schools. And when I was able to do a comparison where she was at versus the kids that was in her level, it was mind-boggling, because at that point, when she was the fifth grader, she was investing. She had stocks in Starbucks, Amazon, and McDonald's. Like, she already has her own debit card. She's already doing things, and she already understood the concept of financial literacy. And it was just things that it wasn't like I was overtly in my house, like, I'm not, like, doing anything crazy where I'm like, y'all can't watch TV. Y'all just gotta learn about this. Like,
break out your spreadsheets.
Yeah, none of that. It was literally just, it was just the concept of just having that dialogue. Something simple as just playing Monopoly. Yeah. I tell her, this is the best game, to play. And we're gonna have a Monopoly night, because you need to learn how to acquire assets. You need to learn. That was it. Yeah, just something simple, and then having the little subliminals that you drop in the context of a game where y'all having fun. That was it. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Something that resonates with them.
I was gonna say, but part of that problem is their parents ain't financial literate. You know what I'm saying? We all know that. I always say this, like, I learned how to buy a house on a whim. My mom didn't buy no house,
right?
So I got out there. I made big mistakes. You know what I'm saying? But I learned.
But you learn.
So, but now I can eventually have that conversation with my children. But let's be real. As black people, we just never had that knowledge. Stocks and bonds. Like, I'm teaching my mom about stocks and bonds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they those generations didn't invest in that. We didn't get that kind of stuff.
Get rich quick. Get that money.
Yeah. Oh no, or it's just education. You know what I'm saying? Like, my grandparents. You know what I'm saying? Like, they weren't. And I remember, like, you just couldn't walk in and go get stocks and bonds. You can invest. It ain't like Robin Hood. Now you just go in there, you put money in there or whatever. Even Cash App, you can invest in stocks. Right. You know what I'm saying? But back in the day, man, you had to have a stockbroker.
Yep.
I mean, black people couldn't even get in the room with a stockbroker. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times. So, that's one of the biggest crutches to financial literacy with black people right now, is just that we're generations behind on that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I love that you touched on that, because I'm one of the first. My mom had 7 boys, bless her heart, and I was number 6. And so that tells you my humble beginnings there, in the sense of just always having hand-me-downs, always having to strive and understand. So I learned a lot from watching everybody else. I would watch what everybody else was doing. Okay, they hustling here, they doing this, they doing there, and I would always say, okay, this is the result of what everyone else is doing. And to your point, it was, okay, well, how do I change the curve? We're giving away money, we're doing this. So what do I need to do? And so you made a good point, because you said the auto thing. Before I got a degree, the first thing I actually got, before I got any degrees or anything, I actually got my real estate license.
Okay.
That was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
As soon as I got my real estate license, I stopped renting. I was 23 years old when I bought.
Knowledge, you understood.
Once I learned, I said, oh, okay, that's where. Didn't have it all figured out, but I knew enough to say, you know what, where's the money at? Where do I need to go to stop? Because I'm giving away $500 back, oh God, when it was $500.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
I'm giving away $500.
You don't even look that old, man.
Right.
$500 rent old? He don't look that old.
Man, I'm about to say, well, how old do you think I am?
Well, I mean, I ain't going to guess your age.
Well, I just turned 40.
I would say 27, nigga. Like, I don't.
I just turned 40. And
you still got your hair on your head.
I know, and I just cut it. That's what's crazy. Everybody's like, man, you just cut, you had a cool deck of hair.
No, year it was when I got a fade. It might have been the 90s when I got a fade. Biggie was alive when I got a fade.
I appreciate it, though.
It was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
I was playing in the barbershop. You know what I'm saying?
That's all right.
But real quick, man, the digital literacy thing that's critical right now, because that's a space where everybody's at. Like you said, we weren't in it, but now we in it. And we need to leverage it to not only to help our kids be able to understand, like, hey, you can use this as a tool. This is a tool to help you get to where you want to go. Like you said, help our parents, help ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we really need to make sure that we're leveraging these tools to help us, because they're out there and they're fucking free.
Yeah.
Right. Don't be afraid. My advice with that, don't be afraid to take risks. Now, obviously, don't bet what you don't have to lose.
Right.
You don't want to do nothing crazy, but if you got $50, start make informed decisions. Go on YouTube University. I mean, again, if you're taking the right steps, and I say real estate, these are some ways where you can build financial wealth. Obviously, you want to, as you get more in tune with it, you'll learn the markets and when to buy, when not to buy, and all those kind of things. But in the beginning, you gotta fail fast. You gotta really put yourself out there and just take some risks, because if you're the generation, if you didn't have an example where someone can communicate with you and talk with you, you kind of have to put yourself out there to start learning those things. But I will say this, I mean, now it's in the palm of your hands, man. Like we don't really have an excuse as like our generation, our kids coming up. Like, I can understand, like what you said earlier, our parents and our grandparents, they didn't know stockbrokers and they didn't have these influential people in their community. Yeah, they had obstacles and hurdles that they had to overcome. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's important, education, like for it to be at the forefront today, because they didn't have that 50, 60 years ago. We do. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing with it?
Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, like you said, you can talk to a financial advisor right now on your phone. You can chat with somebody
right now.
And you can also click that like button. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you like the content that you see, and make sure that you click on that like button, and also make sure that you subscribe to Left-Wing Kingz and share these videos on all of your social media platforms. So let's get down to tool number 3.
Yes.
For educating the black male and helping them move forward. And that's Afrocentric curriculum. So incorporating African-American history and culture into the educational curriculum can make learning more relevant and engaging for black youth. It's kind of like what you did with the rap, the rap thing and bringing that in, right? So Dr. B, how can we incorporate more African-American history in our lessons to foster a sense of pride and motivate our youth to excel academically?
This is where I would touch on it, to where we have to be able to put ourselves in a position where we can get in those rooms, right? Yeah. Because if you're not educated, and again, that's a requirement for a lot of these roles. If you go into college institutions, or you have to have at least a master's or an extreme knowledge and subject matter expert in the field of study. But a lot of times, I mean, they won't even let you in the room unless you have that degree, that piece of paper. So if you can't get in the room, how are you going to teach the content?
Exactly.
You can't, right? You can't teach your culture. Like in the courses that I'm teaching, I can discuss those things. I put on an event where I had African-American males representation. I brought Sam Hurd. I brought Cedric Griffin, I'm sorry, to my institution. Okay. Now they're former players, but I wanted them to be able to shine light on things that they've done in the community outside. Sam, more instrumental because he did have that stint where he made a mistake, and I thought it was powerful to say, hey, as black males, hey, we make mistakes too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mind you, not one person adds them anything negative because I controlled the narrative. Right. And I made sure, hey, we're not talking about what you did wrong. Right. That's not what this is about. This is about talking about what you've done since then and what businesses you've incorporated and how you've continued to move forward, because he's a good brother. Yeah. I knew him before that happened. So it was powerful to be able to bring guys in to be able to explain, Cedric, after his NFL career, hey, talk a little bit about what you're doing in the community out there in Austin, because I see you on a track. You got these kids. That's your business. I see you with your barbecue business. I see you with your fitness business. Brother got 7 businesses. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Wow. Because you learn some things, and there's some things that you can share back to the youth and explain to them, hey, it's not all about just the sports. Guess what else I'm doing to maintain those funds? Because that's power. Yes. We have examples of it out there, but we're programmed. I think a lot of times when we're coming up, it's sports or entertainment, and I think for a lot of us, we checked. I mean, we talk about it, we're the entertainment guys. We're the guys that did the music stuff, and we check those boxes. But we're also successful in our own right. Yeah. And that's more of those stories that we need to uplift and share, because our community needs to see that there's way more ways to get to the bag than just sports and entertainment. I mean, absolutely more ways.
When I talk to youngsters, especially when they talk about getting into music, I say, hey, I think there's a facade. Like, I mean, you got to work hard at music. It's like anything else. An example I always look at, I said, man, last time, I said, when you see these superstars, you watching them, you see concerts, those are usually on your days off. They work on your days off. So why you think you'll see them and they may take a vacation, they might be for 3 or 4 weeks somewhere because they work Christmas and New Year's and Labor Day.
24/7.
You know what I'm saying? It's entertainment. They have to entertain you when you're available. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard work.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I said, what you're probably talking about is hard work and a sacrifice. You probably be easier off doing something else.
I'm gonna really get into the gritty with it. It's hard work because you're 24/7. You're always on. You're your own brand manager.
Yeah.
You know, Kanye doesn't have a brand manager with him every single second of the day. So when he has his moments where, you know, he's saying what's on his mind, it's because in that moment he's managing his own brand.
No doubt.
You have to be, conscientious of that every single time you speak, every moment, anywhere you go, it's always going to be a moment you're on. You never turn it off. And I like another thing you pointed out, because if we were programmed in the music business, you're programmed to just be the talent. Hey, you take care of the talent stuff, we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah.
Now that's backwards. That's backwards. You got people taking care. I had a business manager taking care of my bills and all that kind of stuff, and everything's getting paid until it's what? Until it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's cool until it's not. And then it might be 6 months before you find out, wait a minute, that check wasn't getting cut. Because if I'm in control, I'm gonna make sure I'm getting my money first before I'm taking care of whatever's your responsibilities.
Yeah.
These are things, but that's why the business is important, and understanding business and having your hand in it. You can't, I see so many athletes and entertainers who they lose it all after the end of their careers, and we all wonder why. What happened? They weren't on top of their business. No, it's because they were following the system that said, "Go be the talent. We'll take care of the rest."
Yeah.
No, so I applaud the guys like Jaylen Brown, people who are negotiating their own deals and saying, "No, I'm not letting anybody handle my business." I've seen too many examples of where this goes left or goes right.
Yeah.
That's why, and I'm gonna bring up a sore spot with this brother right here. That's why I like people like Kawhi Leonard. Because
why you do that?
he don't negotiate his own deal.
had to jab his ass, poke him
Right.
one time. But I'm gonna tell you like this, man. He looks out for his best interest, and people, unfortunately, in the sports world, African Americans, for one, we have a problem with this. We always want to have like loyalty to someone, like to prove that we're loyal. We always have to feel like do for you, take care of yourself first. And see, well, you're loyal to the Spurs. He got his own family. He has his own life. And at the end of the day, the Spurs going to do him just like they did David Robinson. Where David Robinson at now? He worked for the Spurs. They love him because he was with them the whole time. But what are they doing for him? If he went to jail for rape or some shit, what would they do for him? Nothing. But his family would be there. His family would have his back. So you got to think about your family and yourself first. And that's why when we talk about these things, like with the music industry, and like, hey, well, this is what's done. You get somebody else to pay all your bills. You don't got to worry about that anymore, Eddie. Let somebody else do all this. They'll manage your money for you. And they back there just going like this. Thumbing through your money. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not involved. And there comes a point when I think that as an individual, especially African Americans in the community, we feel like, I think it's a slave mentality where we have to be loyal. We got to put our heads down and just listen, just do what they tell us to do, and blah, blah, blah. And that ain't the way no more. It just ain't.
No, no, sorry.
Oh no, you good, man. I'm not gonna make this no sports,
Yeah, you
thing.
will.
And I'm not. But I can't let him make it. Quiet in on this
Come on,
contract.
you could've just sat there and not said nothing.
Quiet in on this contract. So we're gonna leave it there.
You could've just sat there and not said
So it got
nothing.
nothing to do with loyalty.
And
He had 1 year left, man. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, and I'm gonna say this. Look, yes, he had 1 year left, but the team also understanding and recognizing the business, they had to get something for him. They knew he wasn't coming back. So
Exactly.
I think at the end of the day, it was just a good break. It was a mutual break. It's unfortunate because obviously nobody wants to see their ex go off and do better without them.
Yeah.
So that was a little tough, but individually I was happy for him, because if there truly was something wrong and he was really dealing with an issue, he had to do what he had to do in that particular situation.
We'll leave that. We gonna make no sports.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to the next tool.
But let me
Okay,
add
go
something to
ahead.
what you were saying though. I read an author named Scott Galloway. I don't know if you know who he is, but I read something I wish I would have heard like 30 years ago that he said. He said a lot of people make a mistake because they confuse their talent with their passion. You know, few people are beneficial enough to get paid for both. You know, it's like star athletes and superstars and musicians and stuff like that. He said there's a few people that get to do that. He says, for instance, he says in my case, I wanted to be the quarterback for the Jets. He said, but I found out in college just not athletically good enough. He said that's my passion. That's what I wanted to do. He said, but I found out my talent, what people will pay me for, is sales and marketing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So a lot of conversations I'm having with these guys that are in their 20s is like, you got to figure it out. Like, yeah, you have a passion to do something, but what's your talent? What are people going to pay you for? And capitalize on that.
Yeah.
You know
And that's why I hate the narrative of like when people say my plan B is reinforcing my plan A. I get it. You're basically telling me I'm all in on plan A. Everything is, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And I love that passion and that energy for wanting to accomplish the feat. But you also got to be honest with the man in the mirror. Like I never lied to the man in the mirror ever.
Yeah.
I might walk out in the room and tell y'all, I'm Boris Kojo, I'm Shamar Moore, I'm good looking. But when I look at the man in the mirror, I got to be honest and say, no, that's not me. I'm not the sex symbol. I'm not this. What's my place in this? What's my role? And then pivot, because if you're constantly putting all this energy, into one thing and you're not able to get the success of that, then you go like, you said, you could spend a whole bunch of time and realize, man, that wasn't really, I was passionate about doing this, but that's not where my talent was.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to explore and try different things. Hey, let me figure out, like education. I never landed and said I was going to be in academia. Like I never said anybody I was going to be in corporate. Like these are things that I didn't really envision. It's just I had to stretch myself. I had to get out from under just thinking I'm gonna be this superstar and say, okay, let me try some other things.
Yeah.
Take my pride. Pride is God. If I had to put one thing on, I'd say a lot of times with us is that pride. We have so much pride in it. Like, this is what I'm known for. I'm going to stay doing it. And I'm not going to go get a regular job. I'm not going to hustle. I was working security before I got signed. Up until the day that I had to stop. I stopped the last day. I don't know why I was somebody's security guard. I was only $125. I was soaking wet. But I understood the concept that in my mind, it was like I haven't arrived yet. Yeah. So it was like, no, I can't do anything until it's time to go. I'm not too big to go, do this, do this 9 to 5, get this little check, do my thing until it's time to go.
Yeah, you got to be practical. And that's what I tell my sons. You know what I'm saying? You got to, you can have dreams, but you have to be practical.
Right.
Yeah. But even like if you do have a talent, right? There's always somebody out there who's better than your ass. And let me tell you something. We all believe that. I believed that I was the best rapper. You believe that you was the best singer because you got to have that confidence and that drive that you have those things in you. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of motherfuckers that can sing. There's a lot of motherfuckers that can rap. And there's not space for everybody to make it. So to your point, plan A is great. Have that drive, have that passion, try to get there, but have a damn plan B. Okay? Yeah. Just make sure you do. Now, with that being said, I want to get to something that might help you get to plan A, which is tool number 4, and that's scholarship and financial aid.
Okay.
So black youth face financial barriers to higher education. Like you said, family of 7 boys. I had my 3 siblings in the house with me. I mean, we all had our situations. So providing them information about scholarships, grants, and financial aid can make a significant difference for our people, especially the black male. So Dr. B, how can we make sure our youth are better informed about the financial opportunities that can help them obtain their education?
I think that's where we have to pull that page out of our grandparents' book and get back to having these, block parties, doing things within our communities and re-educating our youth.
Yeah.
I mean, we own that. I think we're the generation that kind of got away with it. I always see that meme where it's like, you see all your cousins in the living room having a sleepover, and we're like, we don't do that no more. We're not, because we're at that place now where we're one situation away where we're tired and we're done. It's like, I'm done with they mess. I'm not fooling with them.
Yeah.
And because I've been there, I'm the only one in my family living in Texas. And I did a family reunion last year, and I reached a point where I was like, why am I fooling around with it? Nobody seems like they want to do this thing. Like, what's going on? We all have that moment where it's like, y'all still ain't got y'all stuff. Y'all still ain't grown up and got your stuff together, But
it's a reason I left.
It's a reason I left. I don't mess with
these
y'all.
niggas.
They out of line. But
Man.
but then I have to come back to it and tell myself like, no, I can't do that because I'm too valuable. I'm too valuable not only in my community holistically, but also my family community.
Yep.
We're too valuable, and if we have that knowledge, even when it works our last nerve, we have to find different ways to help our youth and have these conversations with them and talk about it. So it's something I instill with my family or just in friends in general. I typically don't do loans no more. So anytime you're like, hey, can I borrow this or you loan me? I don't loan nothing.
It's a gift.
Everything's a gift, but it's only a one time. I'm not a bank.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'll look out for you one time. I'll help you out. And if I got you. But after that, like, hey, the only thing I can give you now, because you're not going to learn how to fish unless, so I can teach you.
Yep.
I can show you better. I can tell you. Because now I'm at the point where they just come around. They see how I'm living. Now I don't have to say the word. Michael Jackson effect. Hey, just come over. Just check it. You come visit. Hey, wow, I see how you living. I see, oh, man. Wow, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And, and it's much more like, man, you know where we came from.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you understand now, if you want to get here, you got to put the work in it. And I think I know what I'm talking about. You know, I got multiple revenue streams. I think I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to educate you as much as I can, but you have to be willing to listen.
Yep.
Because if you think it's just going to be handed to you, ain't nobody handing out anything no more.
Nope.
Nah.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you started talking, made me think of another conversation I had. When it comes to family, I had to realize what my rank was in my family.
Right.
And that's overall. And I think a lot of times, especially you start hitting your 40s and 50s, your parents and older relatives are starting to pass. You got to realize that you're moving up. Your rank is different. Your responsibility to the overall family is different.
That's powerful.
And it took a minute for me to kind of realize, like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, my mom is still here, but she's older now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's not her spot no
Yeah,
more.
my uncle passed away. You know what I'm saying? Grandparents ain't here no more.
Right.
So I think a lot of times when you talk about those sleepovers, you got to visualize where you are and where we are at a generation on where you are. And you can't, when your rank is different, you can't let the little things bother you.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to hold it together and
Exactly.
say, somebody got to hold it together and say, hey, we got to stay together as a family.
Yeah. And with that being said, I mean, I think it's critical to also understand not only your rank, but that people are looking up to you.
Yeah.
The family
That's part
members
of it.
are like, so if you would have just gave up during that family, people would have noticed that shit. And not to look at you in a bad way, but it might have impacted the community,
Right.
your family in a bad way. Like, look at where we at and da. I know, like, our last family reunion that we got back from a few months ago, I was the MC during, like, the karaoke. I was trying to be Adrian over there. I was trying to be the MC. And we was having a good old time. But I had to remember, like, at the end of the day, how are they looking at me? How am I being portrayed? How am I portraying myself? What's the brand that I put myself out there as a member of our family, right? And how am I going to support our family and uplift us in this moment, right? So I think that, like, an upcoming reunions, like, I think they want to do one in San Antonio or in San Diego. So to your point, I'll probably, because my mom lives in San Diego, so I'll probably be one of the main people in charge of getting it. And there's something that you have to understand about your family brand, right? That has to be put out there. And I think that kind of goes back to, like, what you said initially was we have to have the responsibility to show our black males, like, there are opportunities for you to get the funding. You can't be, because a lot of these kids out here think, man, I ain't got no money for this. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. I'm not going to be able to go to school, so I'm just going to go in the military. I'm not going to be able to do this, so I'm just going to go to trade school. And there ain't nothing wrong with trade school. Trade school is great. I'm not trying to say that. But you don't even think of the other option is what I'm trying to say.
And I want to touch on that because, thank you. I want to make a clear point on that because there's nothing wrong with trade schools. There's nothing wrong with coming back to it. Again, and you're going to learn a little bit more as I speak on it, but I went into the music business first. I shot, and I had scholarships. I had an African-American club scholarship at the time. I was a vice president of the club and a co-captain of the step team. So I was doing all this stuff in high school, and I was very, very much acclimated. And at the time, I thought I was going to Morehouse. I had a scholarship for music at Miami Coral Gables singing, but I wanted to go to Morehouse. I wanted to go to HBCU. And so at the time, it was between that. I was looking at Prairie View. I was looking at, of course, a couple Texas schools, but I had my sights set on going to Atlanta.
EV, baby.
Yeah, PV was on. It was like I said. I was very, very active. Paul Quinn, I was looking at them as well. So there was, I got accepted into all the schools, and so it was, 9/11 happened, and that kind of changed my trajectory. Like it happened at the beginning of my senior year, and so when that happened, I realized I had scholarships, I had all these things, and that's when I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to school and learn how to sing classical music, or I want to do R&B. That's what I'm about. You know what? I need to put my ears to the streets and just backpack and go do this thing. And so I gave myself a timetable. I set some goals, and I shot for it. And then I realized, the vision, with my grandmother and all the, the people that were behind me that instilled all the things into me. 10 years went by, and I realized, like, I haven't done anything with the school stuff. And that's when I said, okay, I got to pivot. I'm happy to say I did it a way where I went into corporate America. I learned, again, it was very purposeful, very methodical about, hey, where can I go? Who would pay for this? Who would do this? And I started learning and figuring things out. I don't have any student loans because I figured out how to do it, through the corporate shelf and understood, hey, but that was through the research and looking up. So with that being said, if you're in a situation where financially maybe you don't have the revenue or have the money, again, there's a lot of these big schools that are giving free online courses like Harvard and Stanford. They have free master classes and things of that sort that you could start the process of learning something, find out if you're interested. I say use it as a starting point. Hey, let me learn and see if there's a lot of free master classes. Let me just take some of them. Let me see if I'm even interested before I invest fully in going down this path of maybe program project management or becoming a product owner, or any of these, these fields, or IT. I'm thinking of coding, software engineer. Let me take some of these master classes. Let me learn first. That way I'm only investing, because time is the most important thing. I'm sorry. Time is, the older you get, you realize time. Yeah. And so that would be my advice to the youth. Before you set your sights on spending 4 years and buku dollars in one field, you utilize your resources and learn what's out there.
Well, you brought up resources, man, and that kind of brings me to our fifth and final tool, and that's support networks. So building a strong support network within the community can encourage Black youth to value education. So, Dr. B, who or what are some of these community members and support groups, and how can they provide encouragement and resources to help students succeed?
So, again, that's going to be tailored, in my opinion, to what your passions and what your talents and what you're interested in. But I will say one that, again, that we did with our event, we had the Bexar County Small Business Entrepreneurship team come. Dr. Renee Watson, Black lady that runs that. She came out and spoke. I had no idea anything about that, like setting up, getting, and here I am, doing academia, doing this event, and I thought about it, and I was like, that's exactly the kind of people we need, because you got all these people who have these small businesses. I had students who have, have their own cosmetology business and estheticians, and they're doing all nails and doing all these different things, and I'm going, well, how do I help these students, further, beyond just the times that I have 16 weeks in my courses. And so that became an opportunity to, hey, you can partner. There's a lot of different, vendor jobs that you can bid for within the city. So if you have a landscaping business or any of these types of things that you're doing, you can get that extra exposure. And it's just understanding what, being aware of what's out there in your environment. So that's definitely when I would say start with, if you already have a business that you're functioning and you're doing things, and see what you can bid for contracts.
I like that. There's a lot of companies out there, and networks out there, man. People don't network enough. And there's groups out there that help you for free. And people just don't even look and do their research to take advantage of it. There's people out there, first and foremost, willing to help you. They see the drive that you have, and they're willing to help you. Those support networks are there. And then there's groups out there willing to some of them are giving away free money to help you do the things you want to do. As long as you have a legitimate business and you can, really put together a business plan and say why you're going to use the fund. You just can't walk up to somebody, give me $10,000. But if you serious about your business,
right,
and you really want the money, there's grants and things out there available to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So, with that being said, we talked a little bit about business. We're going to get into the music business.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to talk about my man, Eddie B., who some of y'all may not know. But he had and is still having a fascinating journey that left a mark on the music industry. So since we had a man right here, let's go ahead and delve into the musical journey of a key member of the R&B and hip-hop collective. The Collective, better known as Fatty Cool.
Mini Army.
So, yo, why don't you tell us about your roots in music before you met the other the other members of Fatty Cool?
Yeah, sure thing. So for me, so my roots date back to I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I was there all of 3 months, and then my mom moved. At the time when she was going through a divorce with my father, she moved to Columbus, Ohio. And so on my mom's side, it's all my family from Ohio, and then on my dad's side, Detroit. Why that's instrumental is because on the Detroit side, my dad was a singer. He sang in the church. My grandfather was with Aretha Franklin, R.L. Franklin's right-hand man and deacon in the church.
Okay.
So my father grew up, around Aretha, the Temptations, all these types of people.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote, my aunt wrote with, Minnie Riperton and Motown and all these different
Yeah,
folks.
he was in a Motown spot.
Well, so Henry Ford Hospital, where I was born, is literally on the same street. I literally did the walk. It's not even a block away. It's like literally right there from Motown.
Okay.
From the museum. So it's crazy. So it was just like, West Side. It was like that's the roots.
Yeah.
And so on my mom's side of the family, my uncle was a roadie for like Zapp and Roger. Like, he was involved in that. So it was like I have family that was mixed all into that whole Midwest funk, man. Just that whole vibe. With that being said, when our generation came, because so many of my family members had uncles and parents and everybody that did the music back in the 60s and 70s, their hoop dreams was deflated, or their mic dreams was deflated. When we came around, they wasn't really like, they was like, nah, y'all not, we don't want y'all spending your time on this stuff. So it wasn't really highly like encouraged to that, perspective. But it was like, we were the generation that, again, and then too, we saw so much of the crazy that went on, and drugs and all the crazy things that happened in that period.
Right.
So, we try to you try to stay away from it, but if it's in you, it's in you, and eventually it's gonna come out. And so that's kind of how it happened with me. I was writing since I was a youth, since I was 7, and I would write little jingles and stuff like that. But high school was the first time I was doing basketball and playing sports, and I'll never forget it. I was in my teacher's 9th grade algebra class, and she walked out of the classroom, and how black folks do. We start cutting up a little bit, and somebody starts, at the time it was a 112 song. Somebody started singing Anywhere, and he sang the first verse and the hook. So I came in on Slim's part on the second verse, and everybody was talking in the classroom. And then when I started singing, everybody just went quiet and looked around. And there was a pretty girl in front of me. She stopped and looked, and once she said, no, keep singing. I said, okay. So I kept singing. And then she said, I didn't even like that song. I didn't like the guy singing it. She said, but I like the way you sing it. And everybody in class was like, oh, And that was it, man. Once that happened, I saw that. I said, whoa, it hit me.
Yeah.
I said, whoa, wait a minute, y'all. Wait, what? I was feeling myself after that. And then it just took life, man. I was that kid that was, singing, in the hallways, singing by the bus stop, singing at the malls. I started really, before social media,
Yeah,
I said by the time I finished.
I remember them days.
You know what I'm talking about?
When you had to go to the malls.
Everywhere. I was getting free cinema. But that's how we got around, man. And I took the bus. I didn't have a car, so I took the bus. I took that 550 Looper, and I would go to all the different malls, North Star, Ingram. I was right across the street from Ingram. And that's how I made my living, per se, I guess, was just being that person that on site. It was like I was going to sing, boom. And I don't care if it's at a club. That's back when we had teen clubs, or I used to sneak in the Sunset Station. I was always a little kid trying to be around the older folk. And, yeah, man, I was just that kid that once I had my thing, it was like, okay, that's my thing, and I can do this, and everybody's cool. I got it. Yeah. And from there, it just took off.
Cool. Got any questions for him about that?
Nah, man, I was just enjoying the story, man, and I was trying to see if I noticed him from Sunset Station, because I was one of them older folks in there at that time.
Y'all was cutting up in there, man.
You know he was there.
Yeah, I was trying to.
So why don't you tell us a little bit how you met the other members of Fatty Cool and how you guys got discovered?
So, great story. I'm laughing because I used to cut in that fence. Nobody was ever watching that fence, and I used to cut right into that place, man. And they knew we weren't supposed to be there too, the bodyguards. But black men, they was like, man, what these little kids, what they doing?
Man, T-Rock was running it back in them days, man.
Yeah. And I joke with a few people that used to be promoters, and they always like, yeah, we just, we knew y'all wasn't supposed to be in there, the little kid, but we figured, since y'all made it past that gate, You know, we go ahead and let y'all make it. We had no business in there. No, but to get to your question, so I graduated high school, and like I said, I made some sacrifices. The big one being college, and I knew that at that time, Texas wasn't where it was at. At this point, I'm going to Houston. I'm going to Austin. I'm doing the shows around, and I just didn't like. Again, I'm paying attention. Hey, we're not getting no love down here.
Exposure, none of that.
They're not listening to us. Yeah,
Right.
they got certain people from Houston that's kind. You know, we had the tapes from Rap a Lot and all that kind of stuff back when they was doing anything, but it was just things that weren't moving the way it needed to move. And so I felt like I need to get around where there's more of us, you know, more black folks, more cultural stuff to where people gonna take our music a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
And so at that time, it was just, I got to go back on family. So my first stop in the destination when I went back to Columbus, Ohio, and I applied the same hustle and the same Texas stuff that I was doing here, going to the mall, singing everywhere, doing that whole thing. And it was crazy because I was kind of like, I was so sharp at it. I went into a place where I don't think a lot of people were doing that. They didn't have that same kind of mentality. Like, that's why I felt like Texas was leaps and bounds ahead of where everyone else was at, because you know, we maximize those resources.
Yep.
So when I got in that community and I was doing it, everybody was like, oh man, this guy, you know, he does it. He was trying to work with me. At the time, there was another artist who was signed to Pharrell's label. Pharrell, Nelly's label, Pharrell Entertainment. And so shout out to Rashad. I always give Rashad his love because he was an artist who was in Columbus. He was signed. He had billboards up and he had a song on the radio and he was blowing up. And everybody thought I was his little brother. They was like, man, you look like this, you know, the singer named Rashad. And I was like, oh, okay. And I would always get Wood Harris as I got, you know, I'll tell you.
I see Wood Harris.
I'm gonna tell y'all a real funny story about that. But they always, because I went to an audition.
Avon Barksdale.
Barksdale, yeah. I went to you know, Above the Rim. I went to a movie audition with a lady knew him. She swore up and down I was related to the Harrises. She's like, because he had his older brother too. And she was like, you got to be their little brother. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not related to him at all.
Yeah.
But no, anyway, I digress. So everybody's telling me I don't know who he is at the time. I'm like, I don't know who y'all talking about. But then I find out, you know, he's R&B singer, he's doing this, and so I'm like, okay, well, let me ride the wave a little bit. You know, everybody, you know, I'm getting free studio time, I'm getting all this stuff, people giving me free beats. I'm like, well, shoot, I'll be whoever's brother if y'all looking out for me like that.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, the guy, I ended up getting a producer. He tells me, hey, we going to the studio. It's an inner city program with Chris Powell. Shout out to Chris Powell because he's a legend in Columbus, Ohio. He's worked with, I mean, Mr. Super Freak himself. I mean, Rick James. I mean, he's worked with all kinds of people, man. He's legendary. And so he had an inner city studio where he was giving back to the youth in the heart of the hood, right there off Livingston Ave. And he was teaching kids how to use recording equipment and stuff. And then we had Capacity, which was another youth program where, and shout out to Miss Jackie and Cliff and all the folks that used to run that inner city youth program. But they were getting kids out of the streets and teaching them art and teaching them different things. And it was like that block party feel. They was doing what they could and bringing us together. We would put on events. And so I didn't know anybody. I got invited to this thing, to meet Chris. Well, my friend lied to me. He's like, oh, I'm in the car with him. I'm driving. Mm-hmm. He's on the phone like, yeah, we like 15 minutes out. He doing all that. He's doing one of those. Mm-hmm. We get there. They like, he's in Brazil. He's not even in the country.
Oh, wow.
So I was sitting there like, this.
He was trying to get you to go.
Right. He messing around. He playing. He messing around. So I'm hot. Well, we in the other part of it because, Stars was up top. Capacity was on the bottom. We're in Capacity. And they like, well, we got this bus, the John Lennon Educational Tour bus is coming. And we had somebody drop off. We need another male singer. And so they asked me to sing. Well, there's 30 people in the room. And back then, like I said, I've been cutting my teeth. I'm singing at malls and singing this stuff. So exactly. This one, I'm like, 30, they ain't nothing. All right, I start singing in the room. They like, oh, he's coming. We need him. And so long story short, at that time, there was 4 of the people in the group, myself, or 3 other people from the group that was on that particular trip. We did our thing. They loved the group. Well, one of those singers, Valor, one of my favorite singers, top 5 for sure. She sounds like Lauryn Hill. To me, she just has that, India Reed sound. And they was already looking at her because they said, man, she is just an incredible vocalist. Well, when they found out we were all from the same place, they were like, wait, why don't we put her in with you guys and let's see how this works? And so they did that. We did a demo. The guys that discovered us, our manager at the time, David Sonnenberg, shout out to those guys at DOS. He managed, his first artist was Meatloaf, just to kind of give you perspective. But, you know, he started the Fugees, you know.
Okay.
He managed Lauryn Hill. He managed John Legend. In fact, John Legend was our label mate and our manager mate at that same time. Okay. So he had just discovered John. I'm trying to think, Black Eyed Peas. I mean, the list goes on, man. He's City High. Like he had a history of working with those types of groups already. So when we came along, it was like, yo, this is perfect. You know, let's set up. Let's put them in. You know, let's do the same thing with these kids. And so, as they say in show business, the rest was history, man.
Hell yeah, that's dope, man. That's
Hey, you know what? I took off of that story right there, which was good, and because I got some relatives, I ain't gonna mention no names, that talk about being in the music industry, and this is the thing I always tell them. It was at a point when you went all in on music, but you took a chance on yourself and moved to Columbus or wherever, and took that risk. Yep. And I say that because a lot of these people will say, "Hey, well, y'all don't believe in me," and I say, "You don't believe in yourself. You ain't took the risk." Boom. You know what I'm saying? Like. like you know, it's good to be a musician in your mama's house and your daddy's house, and they paying all the bills, and you telling them they ain't believing in you. Yeah. If you believe in yourself, go to New York or go to somewhere like you said. Go to somewhere where you know you're going to get more traction, and there's hundreds or thousands of people doing the same thing you're doing if you're serious. About it.
And I gotta get this off, man. My parents and them laughed at me. Remember, I told you they from Detroit, so they you know it's in the water. Everybody sing and do all that stuff out in the church. And so they was like, boy, you can't sing. You can't do this. We know this person. We know they name dropping. They doing all that. And they were like, no, we're not encouraging this, you know, this behavior. You are smart. You are, you know, you go to a magnet school. You are intelligent. What are you doing? Yeah. This is backwards. So they were not big fans of it in the beginning. They were very much against it. But I needed that because that's what fueled my fire. It was like, and you know, you find out years later that was the whole purpose of what they were doing was like, hey, if you really serious about this, then, you know, you got to be prepared for even people, you know, your parents, your family, your friends. No one walking, you walking alone. And you know, and I had every family member turn their back on me until they saw the checks, and then like my family did, they all came together and started their own record label because they said, well, if he can do it, we can do it. That didn't work out very well, but. And to your point, what I would say is make a calculated risk. Like it was very calculated. It was very methodical. It was very thought out. Like I was reading whatever books I could land my hands on. I was I didn't know a lot. It still didn't help as much, but it softened the blow on a lot of different things I learned later in life. Yeah. But you got to be calculated in your steps of at least looking at your situation. If you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, I'm doing R&B music, but I'm in an environment that's more, you know, it's Tejano, it's more, you know, mariachi, Latin music. It's more, at the time, rock music or different things, country music. I had to have that conversation. Again, I'm looking in the man in the mirror and say, hey, you're trying to get this off in a market that doesn't suit this. Yeah. You need to go in a market that's going to be a little bit more favoring to what you're trying to do. And that was my ideology behind making that transition. Yeah,
and I think that there's a lot of successful people in life who do that. They take calculated risks. Exactly. In order for, I mean, if you don't, you're going to get stuck. You're going to be stagnant. All right. But it don't take no risk to click the like button, though. So why don't you go ahead and click the like, click that damn like button. Okay. Also, make sure that you subscribe to Left-Wing Kingz and share this video on all of your social media platforms out there. So another thing that my man Dr. B did was he was on TV. Some of y'all might notice his handsome face from a TV show called BET Blowing Up. Yep. So your band was featured on that show, which documented your journey from aspiring artist to the recording stars that you were. What was it like doing the show, and was it really real, or did they tell y'all to like fuck with each other and start fights and shit like they do on Hollywood Star? Like, what is it? Hip hop, loving hip hop.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna tell you. We were one of the first. So actually, we were the first one on BET. We were the first reality show of that kind because at the time, if you recall, O-Town had done one on MTV. So this was even before Puff Daddy, I think, had started doing it. He had just started doing his. And so so what happened is we had convinced our managers to give us a camera. And so they gave us a camera. They wanted to, like a documentary, but then or like an EPK they were going to shoot to shop to labels and stuff. We convinced them to let us keep the camera and stuff. So when we got our apartment, we started shooting our own. Like shout out to my manager Herm, Kuros, man, that's my guy. He was our manager, in-home manager, and he was managing everything. And so he that's what he does. And so he's the one who discovered us and took our tape, old school. Well, he was filming us, and so of course at first, you're playing up to the camera, everything is to the camera. But then, you turn the camera on, you forget it's on. Now you fight. Now it's real. Things get real. So it was real. It was and so we had those moments where things were happening. Now, what I'll tell you with reality TV, like what some of the things that they were doing was they would try to script certain moments, and that was the stuff where they would do things without telling us to get our natural reactions and try to make like, oh, look, he did this, or look. They never came to us and say, hey, we need y'all to act like this. Like that was never. Yeah. They would just try to like make it organic, like put us in uncomfortable situations. So the one that went viral this year, 17 million views, and then you see me battling against R&B singer Miguel. Shout out to Miguel, because the world thinks I have a problem with him. They was calling me a hater, and I'm like, y'all have no idea. It's crazy. I had no idea he was coming. None of us. He recorded our songs. We had no idea. So when he popped up, it was like, hey, and then the way they did it, they called us like 15 minutes before he got there. So they called and said, hey, Eddie, you haven't been doing this. We're looking to replace you out of the group. I'm going, wait, what? And then he pops up 15 minutes later, and he's singing my songs I wrote. I'm going,
oh hell,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So then it puts you in a, now you get. The beauty of the situation, I'm gonna tell y'all the real, because this is a story that no one understands, and this is what the people behind the scenes who was editing had to deal with. The real story was they wanted me to be the angry black guy. If you notice reality TV shows back in the early 90s and the 2000s, what were they? Always had Real World. They always had the angry black person,
and everything,
acting the fool, and they would have he's got to go. This is why we had to get rid of him. That was me.
Bokeem Woodbine made a career off of being angry black guy.
Yeah.
That was me.
That was you, huh?
They wanted me to be that guy. I never gave them that. Every time they would do it, I was like, nah. I would come back like, no, I just got to keep working hard. I'm going to keep doing this. And so the black ladies behind the scenes who was editing the footage, they would go to them and say, hey, where's the stuff with him? Y'all keep editing and sending us stuff, and we don't see him angry enough. And they're like, that's because he's not.
Yeah.
He's not doing any of the stuff that y'all keep trying to make him.
Gonna do.
Yeah. Y'all think because y'all doing this, he's supposed to go and start fighting somebody or doing this. That's not who he is. He's not doing it. So I didn't know how they had such a deep appreciation for me until we had our release, the first episode release at the 4040, Jay-Z's Club. And we there, and I meet all the people behind the scenes, BT, Sony, everybody's there. And the standing ovation they gave for me was crazy. And I'm like, why are they clapping like that for me? Everybody came up to me and said, man, we were so proud with you and impressed because they wanted you to act crazy. Everybody was betting on you. They said, we're doing all these things. And they were sure that the way they wrote up my storyboard was that I was going to do something crazy and I was going to get replaced. And they said, you never gave them. They said, you did it so well that everybody fell in love with you. They was like, no, we can't get rid of it. Like, he's writing the songs. He's doing this.
Yeah. I remember one episode, man, where I was like, these motherfuckers must be crazy. Where they tried to make it like you couldn't sing. I said, he's just not lively enough. He's not this. I'm like, what?
The album was already done. That's what made that wild.
That's why I don't fuck with reality TV, man. That's like this.
See, that's the stuff that was the extra stuff that was going on that nobody knows about, because there was things where they were, but that was happening on their end where they were trying to piece the stories, these things that they had written out together to say, oh, we doing this. Yeah. He has a problem. He's not doing it. And I'm like, I've already written the album. Like everything, like we've already recorded it. Like, what are y'all talking about? It was just crazy little stuff. And so when you're dealing with it, and at the time when you're in it, it's very stressful because you're just trying to, like, I'm just trying to live my dream. I'm just like, I've been through all of this. I finally get here, and this is y'all playing with me. And I'm, and I just want to.
They're just trying to create that drama,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. So I mean, I get the model of reality TV, just ain't for me because I know that they're trying to do things to create drama. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly, that 100%, man. They trying to create crazy drama, but I mean, you talked a little bit about the record release party that y'all had, at the 4040.
At the 4040.
So How did that change your life when it was released? And what are some of the things that you thought would change but didn't change?
I think it allowed me to see the world for what it was. Like I started seeing, like, because even people man, like everything starts to change, and I mean just everything. It's like everybody sees dollar signs or they see something, some opportunity. It's like they see you, and now you're that burden of hope. It's like everything is on you. It's like, and I was, my wife was watching, I subconsciously through her, she was watching Simone Biles documentary. She said something and it really resonated with me. She said, I'm 19 years old and I've already won the Olympic stuff. Like, what am I supposed to do with the rest of my life?
I saw that.
And when I heard that, I said, man, that's exactly how I felt. It was like I've done all these different things. We wanted to, we got,
I'm here.
We got the key to the city. We got our own day. We got all these different things that we did, and it made me feel like that because it's tough, but it's also tough because you realize, like, man, I'm a real person. Like, I'm not fake. Like, and so there's different people, even in the game where, I won't name certain people, but, you could be around somebody and everything's about, this thing. And then off camera, it's like they don't want to have nothing to do. It's like, wow. Like,
Yeah.
And so the hardest part was when you go up, everybody wants to be around. When you're coming down that mountain, man, that's when you really find out who your real friends are because everybody scatter and you start to see how things are. But I prefer it. I prefer that because, now I look at life, when anytime anything happens, I think they know, like, hey, you can't, don't come around me, man. You know what time it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of fake people out there, man. And it's funny, man, when I went out to L.A. when I was in the 90s, I felt that, you know what I'm saying? I felt that, like, you got some people that are genuine, but you got some people, that are in it and they fake. Like I said, as soon as things start going down, they're gone, man. So
Yeah.
Well, I'll say
it's a lesson to learn young, man.
Yeah, I'll say I was never on the level that you were on. I mean, back in the day when I was traveling around, like, we did shows, like, because we had talent. So we did shows with, like, DOS Effects and Domino, Father MC.
Domino.
We did, like, Ghetto Boys, shit like that. So we was out there. We was doing our thing. And even though I was not on that level, it was still, like...
No, you still had to deal with it.
I still had people who I just knew just were, like, cozy up to me because of what I was doing.
Right.
And as soon as I wasn't doing that anymore, I don't know where them cats are now.
Well, and I feel like we were seasoning it. We were seasoning it here in the city because you remember, like, when we would have shows. I was part of crews. We would have shows and everybody would bring their own people. And as soon as your crew was done, like, they would leave and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of used to it. I think being on the local scene, because we dealt with that. It was like, hey, we do our show.
Exactly.
All right, I'm not gonna stay to learn and
Listen,
watch them.
You.
And I used to always think, like, well, how are you supposed to get better or learn or figure out how we can?
We used to actually watch other people. Like, I know I'm a little bit ahead of you. I got you by about 12 years. But I know you know some of the homies that was, getting down when I was getting down. And we stayed. We supported, like, our homeboys and stuff. But now, when I look at the established artists, like Father MC, he didn't. We shook hands, said what's up, but after that he was like, man, I ain't worried about y'all niggas.
Yeah.
Peace. I'm out. I'm going to my little thing. I'm gonna sit in the back in my own special area. Y'all can't come in here. All of this, just shit like that. Which he's earned it. I understand, but at the same time, you didn't see that connection. But locally, when we were doing shows local, there was a lot of, like, learning from your peers and watching them and supporting them and things like that.
So again, going back to what I told y'all earlier, I used to hang with the interns. I used to, hey, let's come party.
Yeah.
I would meet local artists and politic with them. They'll tell you I wasn't walking around with security. I was hanging with. Probably I wouldn't advise that today if you. But I wasn't shining either. I wasn't one of those people that was walking around with jewelry and doing nothing. No, I didn't do none of that. I was very, very down to earth and just, my going out was networking. It was about, making relationships and meeting people. And so I did get to meet a lot of genuine people throughout the years where they always remember that. Like, now they're in positions of power. They say, hey, man, I remember when, that's how I've been able to get in certain doors where, like, 7 years ago, we went to Interscope. I wasn't even doing music. I took a 5-year hiatus where I wasn't doing nothing. And I just started kind of cooking and had an opportunity. And I asked people, say, hey, come up here, play some music. Let's have some conversations. And I was like, wow, okay.
That's what's up.
And the music is what got me in the door because you can't scrimp out. The music always got to be the talent. The whatever you're doing has to be at the highest level.
Yep.
But if you're likable and people recognize that, hey, you're a good person, they're going to extend those opportunities and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you come and kick it with us, because I have a good rapport and a good relationship with you. And so, again, going with everything that we've talked about, you can never get away from that relationship building, being just a genuine person. I think that's what's going to take you far. A lot of times when people, fail or don't get to the level of success that they would have hoped, sometimes it has to do with the fact that how are you connecting? How are you bridging those gaps and making those connections with other people?
And that's a life lesson, man, with everything you do.
Right.
But here's a hard question, man. It might bring up some bad memories for you. Why did Fatty Coop break up? What happened?
Actually, no, it's not hard because we're all friends. We're all still cool. We still talk to this day. Everybody's, in their own, place doing very well. I mean, it was 6 of us, man. Like, once some checks got cut, you heard New Edition got $1.87. They had a share between, 5 people.
Yeah.
I mean, ours wasn't, too much different. It was, I mean, maybe a little bit more, but, at the end of the day, there wasn't enough money to roll around, and we were, we were young, ambitious, right? And so everybody had their own ideas. Everybody was creative. That first album, the cream kind of rose to the top, but on the second one, everybody wants to have their hand in the pot and wants to do a little bit more. And we're always waiting on royalty checks. It's the name of the game. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was just, hey, we gave it a go. We did our thing. And we always kick the tires on, hey, should we come back, do something? Should we work and keep the legacy moving? We've done a lot of great things. We're coming up on 20 years, from when our album dropped.
That's dope.
Also, Sony Columbia. So, but yeah, it was just a situation. It was time in the sense of everything that went on, and some of the stuff we didn't control. Obviously the label made some decisions at that time too. So we had to kind of roll with the punches. But yeah. I think with most things, it always falters on where's everybody at in that time frame, where you at in your life, and just understanding, we want more, and there's things that we want to do and things we want to accomplish. Marja in our group, she was in college, and so she's trying to finish her degree and juggle it. So there was just things at that time that was happening where it just made sense. Hey, let's start focusing on our individual things. I tried my hand at going out to LA and acting. And that's how I, ran into the casting directors who thought I was, and I try to ride with that. If you think I'm Wood Harris's younger, brother, I'm gonna ride with it. Yeah. And I tried out for a few movies, Stomp the Yard, almost got a Seaweed's role in Hairspray. Okay. So there was some great thing. I was with William Morris Agency at the time, so there was a lot of things that was kind of brewing, and we tried our hands, and unfortunately, it doesn't always pan out in your favor, man. Yeah. I've been blessed, so.
No doubt.
But I've also finished second place in a lot of different things, and that's it's like Ricky Bobby, man. If you're not first, you're not last. In that business, that really does apply. It's like you ain't first, you last, because second doesn't pay at all. So, so it happens. But I mean, at the end of the day, when I look at our individual accolades, wow, we've done some incredible things. Josh worked with Prince. He executive produced Prince's last 2 albums. The only person that's ever executive, produced Prince's albums. I got to work with Nipsey Hussle, like I said at the beginning of his career, back when nobody knew who he was. I'm on all volumes, volumes 1, 2, and 3. I actually worked with Tony Parker when he did his project here. Yeah. That's what brought me back to San Antonio. Shout out to BU. Yeah. Like I said, he's the one who put me in position to do that, and. So there was just a lot of great things. I've worked with a lot of New York artists, from Bleak to Kiss. I got records of all kinds of people when I had my stint working with rappers and kind of doing that thing. And I even had a chance working with Timberland in his camp. So, I mean, we did our thing, and it was just time to kind of move around a little bit.
Yes, sir. So how are you using music right now to continue to influence the lives of others?
Perfect. I'm using music through education because I think I'm an anomaly in a sense where I can say, hey, I basically conquered 2 feats that are considered impossible. And it's not just me talking. You can even go and chat GPT if you feel humble to do that.
He didn't say hit him up on it. He said hit him up AI.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Don't go to Google. Go to Chat GPT.
Yeah, go AI because you likely to. I did a probability on it, and it blew me away. The likelihood of you finding someone who signed a record deal, because it's 1 in 500,000 people signing a record deal, and that's just signing a record deal, nothing else associated. We're not even getting into the odds of actually releasing, because most artists get shelved.
Yep.
But signing a record deal and then getting your PhD, less than 2% of the population do that. So the probability of doing both, you're likely of finding like 26 people in the world, 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
26 people that accomplish that feat. I'm one of those. I'm sitting here, I'm one of those, and I didn't even get into racial dynamics and breakdowns and all that kind of stuff. So I take pride in that. I'm not going to down myself, but if somebody wants to research it and battle me on that, we can do it. Let's educate each other on it.
Yeah.
But if I'm the only black male, then I'll take it too. I don't know that I am. I should make a T-shirt that says that, and then let's see if somebody proves me wrong.
Make a meme.
Make a meme, right?
Because it is true.
Yeah, I mean, but the reality of it is, I mean,
Cornel West gonna come out of nowhere.
I had a record deal.
Yeah, Dr. Cornel West. Shout out to him, man. He was here in San Antonio. I went to his thing at SAC. So shout out to him. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So my thing was just I'm not gonna sit here and lie and be like, oh, I planned that and I knew this.
Yeah.
I didn't even plan. I was just thinking about it one day, like, I wonder, and that's when it kind of resonated, hit me that, hey, if I've done these different things, I have a power to be able to speak on those things because, one, I could speak to artists who are saying, hey, I want to be in the music business. Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm a resource that can speak to these artists and teach, these kids, hey, it's nothing, you go to these football coaches and basketball coaches. Why not come to somebody who can teach you that from the ground up and I came from nothing. Like I didn't have somebody, again, I had to make it work.
Yep.
But then on the flip side of that too, from an educational perspective and say, hey, here's somebody, here's the plan B. This is how you can attach that too. You don't have to put it all over here and say, that's it.
Right.
You can do a little bit of both. And guess what? There's a lot of money in that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The music business is $1 trillion business. Don't let them fool you. Oh, it's only $1 billion. No, it's trillions. And I'm gonna tell y'all something that's even crazier. My manager, Mr. David Sonnenberg, I told you he discovered meatloaf. Mm-hmm. That was in the 70s. He was a real estate attorney in New York. He was very successful. Why did he leave being an attorney to become a music manager?
Because the money was there.
That was the question I always wanted to know. Because I said, wait a minute, hold on.
Because music money don't stop.
And you ain't got the audits and the paper trace that you do with other stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's so much. I mean, I remember people doing walkthroughs. They getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 just doing a walkthrough. Just put my name on the flyer. Yeah, I'm so and so. They still do that to this day.
Yeah, they still do.
But that was a under the table thing that people didn't know that was going on for so long before it finally became, now everybody,
Yeah, Busta Rhymes, they made his career like that. He was walking in on studio sessions and
But you can go to clubs, to your point, put their name on a flyer. They go to a club and just walk through and get 20 G's just for that.
Because now you use my name and likeness on your flyer. People come into your establishment because they know I'm going to be there. I show up, I say a couple words on the mic.
You open a restaurant. They show up. I mean, they make money like that. Like you said, no paper trail, no nothing.
Yeah, and then even like the Meatloaf thing, Meatloaf's passed away now, but with your manager, if he's got a percentage of any of them royalties, I mean,
yes, sir.
Let's say one of these, animated movies uses Meatloaf's song or something. That money don't die in the music industry. That's why he did that.
It don't die. No. My kids, that's why everybody's one hit away. And if, Beyonce, blesses us and decides she wants to sing, Chills one day, then...
Thank you, Jesus.
Or somebody wants to remix it in the country, there you go. It's that thing that continues to, pave the way. And we have songs and movies and things like that I see the BMI statements and, and things on. And so, we have Fat Albert and a couple things. Mm-hmm. It keeps rolling, and I just tell folks, man, just stay humble with it. You never know where the blessing's gonna come. You never know what's gonna take it to
Bounce
the next
was in Fat Albert, right?
Bounce was in Fat Albert. Was also in Like Mike.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike-
it
Mike-
was. Yeah.
So we had a couple movies, and then we did a Yu-Gi-Oh movie. We did an original song for that. So we had like I said, we had some placements where every night, like I said, I'll look up, okay, couple dollars here, ain't nothing, ain't nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
it's rolling
You
and
can't put your kids through college, but
but like I said, but the viral thing, when it went viral, the spins all went up. So every time that happens, I see that bump. That's why I'm like, well, okay, I'll be the villain. I lived long enough to be the hero and now the villain in the narrative.
Yeah.
I've never been a villain in my
Yeah.
life, so I'm embracing it. I love it. I'm like, hey, let's
Hey,
roll.
when you talk about like residual income, like you talked about that earlier, and that's what this is. This is a residual income stream. Like besides doing the thing that you do in the academia, you got an income stream there. You got your investments. You got the So I think it's like in my own life, like okay, I got my investments. I got other YouTube channels that bring in money and shit like that. So I mean, if you ain't out there like looking at other ways and taking risk, calculated risk,
Right.
to make that money, you got to do that. Now, there was also a calculated risk that was taken from a political standpoint. There was a calculated risk that if Joe Biden drops out the race, that Kamala Harris is gonna blow up. And damn, she sure as hell did.
Right.
Kamala is doing some things, and this year's Democratic National Convention was packed with memorable speeches, historic announcements, and some powerful performances as well. So I thought we'd go ahead and recap the top 5 moments of the 2024 Democratic National Convention.
Yeah,
And we're going to start off with moment number 1, which is the Democratic delegate roll call. Now, this was a groundbreaking moment, man. I was up dancing, clapping my hands, all kind of shit. Now, it was met with thunderous applause, dancing, and several celebrity appearances happened during this thing. It was fire. Now, Ace, what was your biggest takeaway from that roll call?
It was amazing. But shout out to hip hop, man. Hip hop is growing up, man. And what I mean by that is like, what I was thinking when I was playing is like they merged hip hop and hip hop artists with those states was just dope. Like, when they called Michigan, they dropped, Lose Yourself by Eminem. You know what I'm saying? They when they hit the California, they were playing California Love. You know what I'm saying? New York, they played Jay-Z New York. And that's a big shout out for a music genre just as old as me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's my music. You know
Yes,
what I'm
sir.
saying? So to see that, man, was awesome. And just from the DNC definitely making themselves eons away from what the RNC was. Like,
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, it was alive. It was pumping. You wanted to be there. I'm trying to get there next year. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
You want to miss that concert?
Like, I don't want to miss the concert.
Right.
Like I'm excited what's going to happen next year. I was going to say, man, if they would have dropped UGK when Texas came out, I was going to be done.
I don't think they would have been able to get everybody
they
back.
ain't ready. They ain't ready. But they would have did it though, man. I mean, we sure puts the whole bunch of people off, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So nonetheless,
They'd have lost the whole crowd, man.
Nonetheless.
People, they would have, especially
Yeah,
they would
nah.
have dropped "I Choose You" or something like that. They had to let Pimp's verse go,
I
man.
choose you.
They gotta let Pimp's verse go, man. We gonna
Nah,
one
they
up for Pimp, man.
They could have dropped the cocaine in the back of the ride,
Right.
something.
Diamonds up against that.
Hey,
God.
you know,
That would have been some
it'd
shit
blew
right
up.
there, boy.
But I mean, and shout out to DJ Cassidy, man.
No doubt.
Did his thing, man. And I mean, and I also like the fact that it was regional conscience. Like he wasn't dropping the hardcore hip hop beats when he called like West Virginia and Kentucky. He slid in some bluegrass, Mississippi.
He was all over the
slid in
map,
some
man. He
blues.
did it. He did his thing.
Yeah. He put everything in the right perspective, man, and I think that's what made it fit. You know what I'm saying? It was like, and I want to say with Texas, a little country twang with it. Well, hey, we're in Texas, man. That's what it's supposed to be like. So, I really enjoyed that, man. That roll call, and then pulling out the celebrities, and a lot of people talk about Little John, but what threw me a loop when they dug out Sean Astin, like I was like,
Yeah.
for Indiana, and he shot out like, yeah, I played Rudy, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like Notre Dame, that was dope, man. You know what I'm saying? So that little twist, man, just brought a breath of fresh air, man, to that convention that's really, doing a couple of things, man. Just trying to really, make people happy and feel good about, voting and getting excited about that. But also, I think that was a direct aim at young voters and youth and have them interested. So that was a dope
I think
strategy.
it actually spanned like multi-generational because the songs were, like you said, they were diverse. They represented each state and genre of music. So what were your thoughts, man?
I was gonna say, I love the diverse perspectives of just the people in itself. Like you had people of all nationalities, colors, creeds. I mean, they were represented and strong. I mean, it felt genuine. Like, and then everybody was having. I mean, they were electrified. They were having a good time. Like you saw, like when they panned into the audience, you saw people like vibing and dancing and really getting into it. It just felt like you said, like it felt like a concert. It felt like something you wanted to be involved in. It didn't feel fake. It didn't feel disingenuous, man. It felt real, and that's what again, that's what you want. You want to see people. I didn't feel like anyone, and there might have been, but it didn't feel like there was people hired to do that. Like it felt even if they were doing a job, they were there. They were really behind what they were doing. And that's the point I want to make. It just didn't feel like okay, I'm a higher black person here, just here to cover this. Like, no, it didn't look like
Blacks
that.
for Trump.
It didn't look nothing crazy.
Holding up the upside down sign. Blacks for Trump.
It just didn't look fake, man. And that's what I enjoyed about it.
Hey, man. So there was another moment that we want to get to, and that's moment number 2 when you talk about black folks doing their thing. Michelle Obama did the damn thing. I mean, and on many different levels. So the former First Lady delivered a powerful and emotional address emphasizing the importance of unity, the need to protect democracy, and she even took a few jabs at your boy, Donald Trump. Not your boy, but I'm just trying to get I'm trying to get under your skin.
We from the hood. We know what you mean. We from the hood. Shit. You ain't got to explain that.
Oh, shit. So, Dr. B, what about Michelle's speech impressed you the most?
God, I wish she would run for president because, and I know I shouldn't, but she's just so. It's like when she speaks, it's like your auntie talking to you. It's like your grandmother talking to you, your mom talking. It's so. But I say your auntie first because it's like your auntie's the one that's unfiltered. She's like she's kind of raising you, but she's not the one that has to raise you. So she's just gonna say whatever's off the cusp of what she feels. Because
she got that uncle energy,
right?
Auntie and uncle energy.
The auntie and uncle energy is different.
Like I love you, but I truly don't give a fuck about you. So, but I love you though. Got that auntie uncle energy.
I cut for you, but I don't cut for you.
You go out there and bust your head, nigga. That's on you. Nigga.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut you off with the quickness. But that's what I love about it, man, because she did. She touched on the right things. She said exactly what she felt. And that's why I said the affirmative action to general wealth. When she said that, I was like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody talk about affirmative action, but it's like, if you had a head start in that where you was getting the hand-me-downs and all that stuff, you were able to build that generational wealth.
Oh, yeah, she came with them on that one.
Yeah, stop it. Let's stop all that. Yeah. And so she just, man, and then she was, she even talked about it. It's like when you have a chance, some of us don't get the opportunity to make those mistakes.
That's right.
But when it's a lot easier to say those kind of things when lift yourself up by your bootstraps when you get 4 or 5 different times to fail. Here's another $1 million to fail. Here's another, couple $100,000. Yeah. Well, it's a lot easier to say that kind of stuff when everybody else, I got to stretch 100. If you ain't, I don't even say $100. What's they say? Some Beyonce says problems happen when you got millions of dollars in the escalator, and the Cedric Entertainer said, "Well, shoot, I know some things that happen when it's $30 in the escalator."
Yeah,
and I laugh about that because I think about that. It's like when you have to fight over things like that, and we've all been there where it's like, I can't even stretch $30. I'm calling up. There's people I cut off for less. I'm like, I got to cut them off for a couple dollars.
I'm trying to make gas money till next week now. What are you talking about? We're fighting them battles today. You know what I'm saying?
So, the margin of error. It's like we don't have that opportunity. And I just love that when she so eloquently, man, when she touched on it, she really addressed that situation. And like I said, man, she starts speaking and you just feel so comfortable.
Yes.
I'm gonna take a little further than that. What Michelle Obama do? Michelle Obama has the unique talent of saying what we think and being able to do it educational wise,
yes.
and come over eloquently with
Yes.
it. Like everything I think, like she said the part about Trump being intimidated by too educated black people, and I would have just like I've been saying that shit. I ain't said it that smooth. You know what I'm saying? Like he's scared of black folks. You know what I'm saying? That's basically said, especially if they're educated. And she said that across the point to where everybody could kind of understand it and kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like Michelle Obama's always been a beast, will always be a beast. And that's the number one reason people don't like the Obamas in the first place. Because you can't touch them.
Nope.
Ain't nothing you can say about them.
Well, they can say everything they want to, but it ain't
bullshit. Real. Just like
exactly.
she said. Like she said, we've been a victim of this and the victim of that, but politically, they're just on another level than any of the politicians. You come look at, they came after Bush, and we know Bush was a hot mess.
Yeah.
And I always said this, now people, because I've been paying attention to politics for a while. Bush was a mess. People forget about that. When Obama came out in 2008, he practically had to save the company.
Yeah.
The problem is Trump's a bigger mess. You know what I'm saying? So we never forgot about Bush. Like Bush, we wish we had Bush back. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and the Obamas are kind of latched to both of them, right in between both of them, man. So, when she came out, man, with them arms out, you know what I'm saying? She was ready.
Yeah.
She was ready, man.
With that ponytail.
Yeah.
She was ready, and she did her thing, man. So yeah, when the black jobs hit, come on.
She said, that's a black. Oh, that was my.
He trying to get a black job. Don't he not understand that?
Yeah. Well, somebody tell him he's trying to get the job he's going for is a black job.
Yes, indeed.
And like you said, she said like your auntie would say. You know what I'm saying? She didn't pretty it up or anything. So yeah, no, that was powerful.
Unfiltered, unapologetic, all of it. I love it,
man. I think that one of the things that just tells you right now that her speech was powerful, and her speech was like just I can't even call it, man. Her speech resonated with everyone in that room and everyone across the world the way that she did it. And you know that because one of the best speakers of our time, of our generation, that we were alive, went up there and said, I have to follow this.
Yeah.
Barack Obama went up there and said, damn, I got to follow that?
Right.
That tells you just within itself how powerful her speech was. And something else that's powerful is the like button. So why don't your ass click it and also subscribe to Left-Wing Kingz so that you can see more content like this every single week. And make sure that you share our content on all of your social media platforms.
Tell somebody. All right.
Tell your auntie.
Do something. Like Michelle Obama said, do something. Don't complain.
Something.
Do something.
You're damn Skippy. So somebody else that got up there on stage and really had a strong message and really was vulnerable in a moment was Hadley Duvall.
Yeah.
So 22-year-old Hadley Duvall explained how her stepfather raped her when she was 12 and she became pregnant with his child. Now, she was able to have an abortion because it was before all of the stuff that happened right now, but her story in itself just silenced the United Center, and what she was saying was felt throughout the country for several days. So, Ace, what made Hadley's speech so powerful?
Oh, shoot, man. When she dropped that one line and she said, I couldn't imagine having my parents' child. Yeah. I think that shook everybody up. You know what I'm saying? That's chilling to say right now. You know what I'm saying? But that's always been the, I can understand when people kind of sometimes say abortion, they try to go biblical with it. But like I don't understand when people would be like, no, you can't abort anything. Like rape, incest, like, who's rooting for that, man? You know what I'm saying? Like
crazy.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know some people got their beliefs or whatever and about abortion, but come on, man. Like, and a lot of that, a lot of that's happening. You know what I'm saying? That's the sad part about it, man, is that. So I just don't get it. But yeah, I think she shook everybody. She shook up the world when she dropped that line right there, man. That was touching.
Yeah, I always, it's always one of those moments where it sucks the life out of the party in a sense, but not intentionally. It's like they're telling the story right, and they're telling you, the the thing that they went through, and it kind of pales in comparison to the things. Sometimes we need those stories because we live our life and we always feel like, man, I had it the hardest, I had it rough, I had this, and then you hear someone else's journey in the flight and you go, wow, maybe it's not a little, it wasn't that bad, it wasn't as hard as that, and it's that that thing, and to your point, I don't know, I could never imagine, and you just shouts out to her for being vulnerable enough to share that, because that's tough, man. It's just tough being in a situation where and I don't agree with when people make those types of choices of saying people don't have a choice. I feel like if I can open up and say, hey, I think people should have a choice, knowing like I mean, I'll be a little vulnerable with you guys. I've never shared this in anything public, but I told you I was number 6. I was a child. My mom was going through a divorce, and her dear friend stopped her from getting an abortion with me.
Wow.
And so, so shout out to Edwardina. That's who I'm named after. And rest in peace to her. She was my mother on earth, and I say my angel in heaven now, because she was that person who, that friend that said, hey, no, don't take that easy road out. Now my mom had every right to make whatever choice she wanted to make.
Right.
And I stand by that. Like I do feel like, extreme circumstances or any of those kind of things, like, we got to give people that, those, allow them to make the choices that they need to make in those particular situations. So it's a tough road. It's tough, when people have to, speak about those kind of things and make those kind of decisions. But, considering what she had gone through, I mean, I don't know how she would have been able to do it, have the child otherwise.
Crazy. Hey, what I will say is this: 2 things, man, and I think they are kind of connected. Is that people say all the time, well, you got to have an exception for rape and incest. You got to have an exception for rape and incest, but it don't hit like somebody up there who went through it.
Right.
Yeah.
To your point, who had it happen, and they had incest and rape.
I mean, serious.
Happened to them, and they had to deal with it. They had to make that decision. When it becomes real, right, it's different than us just having political differences and having conversations about it.
Yeah.
And the second piece is when someone like yourself says, I believe in choice, but you were at risk of not even being here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your mother's choice could have been, like, we could have never had an Eddie B. Right? We could have never had a Dr. B. You might have never had your kids. All of this shit. You know what I'm saying? But you still believe in choice, even though you might not be here today.
And that's why I think it's important to share that, because I think sometimes people get it twisted. They think like, but it's a lot easier to scream something and say things when you don't have context, when it's not impacting you.
Right.
But once that thing comes in your neighborhood and now you're having to deal with it, and the worst thing I did was download the Nextdoor app, and I'm like seeing all this stuff that's happening in my neighborhood. I'm like,
I can't stand these neighborhood apps. But anyway,
what
that's
are
a
y'all
whole
doing?
other conversation.
But
You got an app? When people look at you,
Yeah,
I look at you. They just talk about stuff like, hey, this, that, and the other. They talk about their opinion. They talk about.
Oh,
yeah, it's
You
like
just find out who your neighbors are.
oh, that's
Right.
Karen's app.
it's crazy. But I bring that up because the minute you start finding out things that's happening around you, everybody has something to weigh in, especially when it doesn't impact you and it's not happening around you. It's like it's easy to say,
Everybody got their
I live on the north side. It's easy to talk about the east side and the west side and south side. But the minute that, now it's starting to look a little funny on the other side of town, well, wait a minute, hold on, time out, and it's, it's in your backyard. And so again, I share that because we still got to allow people, if somebody's not in the right capacity or they can't, it's not always incest or rape or something. Sometimes it's situations where, how am I going to feed my other 5 kids?
Exactly.
And I gotta, I don't know how I really don't know how I'm going through this. I don't know if I can, I wasn't expecting having another, like, I don't know how this is going to work. Now we can look back now and I'm very thankful.
Oh yeah.
But I understand.
Right.
If it went the other way, it's just that quick, Those are the kind of situations where we don't talk enough about. We don't understand. that people are dealing with things.
Yep.
Well, we ain't got the next door neighbor app in the hood. We got Shonda Godly. Shonda Godly let us know what's going on with everybody.
It's real
on the west side.
It's
you
real
know what I'm
time.
Oh,
saying?
shit.
That's what we got. You know what
I
I'm
thought you
saying?
were gonna say it's real time. We see the bullets flying. We don't need. No,
I'm older now. I ain't in them streets like that.
y'all.
no more.
I'm about to say no.
I'm talking about now. I ain't talking about back then.
Yeah, back then. Yeah.
Yeah, but politically, man, let's talk about just abortion on a whole, man. I just think that's powerful, man, because I think end of the day, this election is gonna come down to how the women vote turns out, and I think a lot of people, the sad part about the reality of this world is a lot of women have faced rape or almost got raped.
Yep.
So the threat of them thinking about abortion is real. Like, if I get raped by somebody and get pregnant, I probably don't want to have that baby. Or at least want to have a choice not to.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it goes. So I think that her speech spoke powerful to that. I think it spoke volumes. And I think it's going to, I think it's all said and done, it's going to move a lot of women and determine who they want to vote for when they talk about this election.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, an adjudicated rapist is Donald Trump. And
Speaking of rape, you know what I'm saying?
And speaking of adjudicated rapists, Donald Trump, they played a video. This is moment number 4. They played a January 6th video, which basically it offered disturbing scenes of people invading the Capitol and injuring police officers. And at the same time, there were remarks from Donald Trump playing in the background while all of this other stuff was happening. So it included things like him saying he was going to pardon the people who were charged with the crimes and yada, yada, yada. So, Dr. B, what impact would a video like this have on independent voters or those who might be on the fence?
Well, we know. I'm going to say this. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to impact anybody who has already made up their mind and has
Trump
decided.
voters, they ride with
Oh,
it.
yeah.
They're going to ride with, till the wheels fall off, down like 4 flats.
Yes, sir.
I think when you look at people who are kind of in the middle, and I to be honest, in full transparency, I consider myself someone who's in the middle who looks at things like, okay, well, what about humanity? Like, what are we looking at holistically? Are we taking a utilitarianism approach as far as like, are we making decisions that's for the betterment of everybody, right?
He said about 4 big ass words real quick. You see that shit?
Well, let's get out our dictionaries.
Yeah.
God damn.
Utilitarianism.
Bringing all these doctors on here. I can say it, but I can't spell it. The hell?
I didn't do that.
I'm still
on
trying to figure out what the hell he said. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
well,
Don't tell.
My bad.
He messing with you, man.
Yeah, I know you know. Come on, stop it. Yeah, the point I'm trying to make, you made me lose my point. I look at things from the standpoint of like, what are we doing to help each other and all people? Like, are we making decisions? The leader that's going to be in play. I mean, I got my PhD in leadership, and so I'm really looking at it from that lens of just like, are you making decisions that's going to include everybody? People that look like me, people that don't look like me,
Right.
people that have different sexual preferences. I've come to a place where I'm just at a place where we say it, and now I'm really starting to try to live it to where let God judge people. Why am I judging you and what you're doing?
Yeah,
Let me focus on what I'm doing, and so I want somebody who's going to take our considerations and do what's best for us as a people and move us forward.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that just in full transparency that Joe Biden did drop out, because I felt like he wasn't capable to I was starting to feel bad because I know I feel like something's wrong. I don't want to derail the conversation, but I feel like Kamala is the next person up, and I think she's more than qualified to lead.
No doubt.
I think she has the capability. I think it's going to come down to, again, with the videos and the things that we're seeing. I think people are going to have to make informed decisions based on how they feel, what their moral compass is and how they feel. Michelle alluded to that as well.
Yeah.
If you have a moral compass and you know in your heart of hearts how you feel and certain things, man, that's just not right.
Yeah.
You need to make a informed decision based on how what you're seeing and how you feel.
Exactly.
So if you're somebody who's independent or maybe on a Democratic and on the left and you're seeing these different things, I would hope that you're making decisions based on that moral compass. And I would even say that for the people on the right. Like, hey, make sure you're making an informed decision on what you're seeing, because at the end of the day, everything's funny. You know, like again, you know, the social media aspect to all this stuff. It's all funny and fun and games until none of this is here anymore. And now, you know, now we divert back 300 years, and for my concern has always been, this is chess, man. We're not playing checkers. This is chess. And you got countries like North Korea out there, Russia, and some of these they're looking, China, they're looking at us, and they want there to be another civil war. They want crazy to go on because it's chess.
Yeah.
Let them take each other out, and then we squeeze on in, and then we're all in chains, and we're all.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, you speaking toward it, man. I mean, we talk about it on this show every week, man. I mean, I think there's an aspect of people out here that it's a game to them. It's a I want to be right game, or I'm backing this, and they're not looking at it on how it's going to affect not only them but other people. You know what I'm saying? From day one, I've been saying the problem with Donald Trump, he's got his issues or problem. Number one, he can't govern. The one thing we need him to do as president is to govern, to be able to make decisions for everybody that's going to pay off. He proved that in COVID. He can't do that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the capability. So why would you want to put somebody in a position that can't do that? You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of just intelligent people that I think got caught up into the social media arguments and now trying to prove the fact that they want to be right. Or they put their foot in their mouth and they don't want to back up from it. But it's not a game.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Project 2025 is not a game.
It's not a game.
He's wrote down what he's going to do. He's wrote down the kind of power that he wants. He wrote down the things he's going to take away. And it was funny because right when I looked at the DNC, I have a bad habit of changing over to Fox. Just to see what these people are going to say. I even want to call them out their name, but just see what they're going to say. And their perspective on everything he says is that he's joking. Oh, man, he's just joking at that. He said that. I don't know why they can't take a joke. He's just being funny. You know,
That ain't funny.
You know what I'm saying? Project 2025. He don't really know those people.
Well, he knows all of them.
What'd she say? I'm presidential.
You know, exactly.
You know,
he's just doing things, like I said, and saying things that he actually means, and they're honestly pushing the propaganda that, oh, it's just a joke. He doesn't mean that or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's unpresidential, and there was a moment where that was said in the DNC in Michelle's speech, and that was part of that power, man, of just calling certain things out. I think that every now and then you do need that disruptive force, though, because I feel like we get so complacent, and so I think that's what when I look at Donald Trump's legacy as far as leading, he's providing that disruption. He's putting people on their toes, and if you think about it, I mean, look how many people have been engaged in this now. Like, it's become a thing where everybody's so engaged in understanding politics more than what it was maybe. I mean, 20 years ago, I didn't care about politics like
Exactly.
That was and I probably should have been.
yeah, I mean,
But-
I was gonna say Osama bin Laden was disruptive. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but I feel like there's key moments in history, and I try. We've gotten away from recognizing the power of debate, recognizing the power of having healthy debate and having a healthy challenge and having that dialogue and going back and forth. Because there's things that we can sit in this room and as black males we're going to agree with, right? Wholeheartedly, because it's things that we've experienced. It's black jobs and all those different things. When we hear certain things that's being said, we're going, "Yep, I've been there. I understand that. I have a time or two, and you don't understand what it feels like if I'm talking with somebody about getting pulled over, and in the black male experience, we like, oh, well, we know what right away. We can't joke about it the same way maybe some of our counterparts might. Oh, I just argue with them, got a ticket. And we sitting there going, oh, I remember having to talk about warrants or maybe getting arrested or, different things that went on where I was in the passenger seat. I didn't even have nothing to do with what was going on, where we all have that experience, right? To where it's going to hit us a little different where, hey, I ain't laughing. Well, I ain't laughing. It ain't funny.
It ain't funny.
It ain't funny to me because that experience was real. I'm sharing that because when I look at certain things, when you talk with, my thing is like our ability to be able to agree to disagree or just have conversation. Like there's certain words that you might have noticed something. I haven't said the N-word today. But it's not because I didn't say it in my past. It's well documented. I have been on songs and all kinds of things. But I started making, I started informing myself and listening and understanding. And there's certain things that I try to step back from doing. Not because I don't think I'm better than anybody. It's none of those things. It's just I look at certain things and I tell myself, okay, I'm growing up, I'm maturing. There's a certain way I want to start carrying myself. There's certain things I want to start doing. There's certain things I want to be informed about. I'm never going to tell someone else, hey, don't do this, don't do that, because it's like, you know, my little brother, for example, you know, he, you know, at one point, you know, he might want to smoke or drink or do something like that. I don't do that. And I was big brother, right? Tell him, hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Then I was in his house one day trying to tell him not to do something in his house. And when he said something to me, it hit me. Oh yeah, you pay the bills here. It's you. I can't, what am I?
Yeah, who am I?
What am I talking about?
Yeah.
And so that's those teachable moments, you know, where I listen to other people, and I'm the type of person that when I see people on my feet, I don't disfriend anybody. I'm not gonna cut off, you know, people that I know are Trump friends. I'm not even gonna stop interacting with you, because at some point we're gonna have a healthy dialogue. But my only ask is that you be comfortable. If you can dish whatever you can dish, be comfortable in receiving.
Exactly.
Be ready. You know, we can laugh and talk about whatever, but we're gonna have a conversation.
Yep, sure enough.
You know,
I think that what you're talking about too just made me think about, like you said, like I think that as a people, you said we have lost the ability to like debate. People don't, and this is like for me, I got my master's in organizational leadership. I know you got your PhD in organizational leadership. I'm next on deck.
Let's go.
Okay,
let's go.
You know, it's free. Like you said, we work at a place where we get education for free, so there ain't no reason, unless time is the only thing that's stopping me.
Time.
So I got plenty of that. But anyway, as somebody who has a master's in organizational leadership, one of the things that I always talk about is we need to be able to have, you know, conversations with one another, but not only listen, and you talked about listening, but we need to be able to listen to understand. People don't listen to understand no more. They listen for their turn to talk. And you can see it in social media. You could read somebody say something, but you're not really absorbing their message and coming from their perspective and trying to understand their point of view. All you thinking about is what I'm gonna say back. That was stupid, and I'm gonna say this. Back. Yeah, I got the comeback for that. Blah blah blah. That's all we think about. It's the comeback. We never try to have a conversation where we're actually engaged in the understanding part, and that's something that's critical for us to be even able to continue down the path of success, like our country has been. Because eventually, all of this butting the heads, like you said, we playing chess. You're gonna open up a door for opportunity. For Ace talks about this all the time. Those other countries out there who do not have our best interest at heart to step through that door and cause something to us. So speech and conversation is vital, and that leads me to moment number 5, Kamala Harris's speech. So Kamala Harris, basically the whole night, the theme was freedom, and she followed that up with her fight for freedom, which she eloquently tied to a lot of the things that she wants to take care of as president, like health care, reproductive rights, home ownership, all kind of stuff. So Ace, how did Kamala's speech improve her chances to earn enough votes to become our next president?
I think what Kamala did, I mean, one, she looked very presidential up there when she went up there and did that. But I think what she did, for the most part, the most simplified part, is she laid down and told everybody what she wants to do.
Yep.
It's not a question about it. It ain't a what if. Not only did she tell you, she's laying down the plans to do it.
Yep.
Other than her counterpart is just saying things like, I think that thing is no tax on tips or something like that, which I don't know what that's supposed to do for people other than if you're a waiter. Maybe that might do something. But basically what I'm saying is it laid out a full-scale plan to where if you're looking at it and you want to know what she wants to do, and you want to know what your vote's going to get, she's laid out a real thorough plan and introduced herself to you and who she is, and put it to the point of, this is mine. A lot of people are trying to talk about, well, she's just going to roll out what Biden's going to do and blah, blah, blah. Just continue it. She laid it out to this plan that's going to be hers. So I think that bettered her chances. And anytime I look at the DNC or the RNC, those are really showcasing to the base. They're actually trying to chase the independents, people in the middle of
Yep.
the road, and I claim myself to be an independent. So I think that affected her in that case more with them. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to do. This is how I differ from the other guy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that set her up good to win over that middle of the road voter when it comes to November.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think her approach as far as articulating what she wants to accomplish, I think it's there. I think she has the support. Holistically, I think her road into the White House is really going to come down to, are we as a country ready for a woman to lead? I
Thank
still
you.
feel
Yeah.
like that's going to be the impediment
Oh, yeah.
that I think.
That's never going away.
Yeah, I just think, and
Sad.
I think a lot of folks just, struggle with that.
It's a lot of black men are going to do that right there, go vote
Right.
for Trump just because of that.
or not vote at all, just because of that one situation. And I
Yeah.
think that's the part that's like, we call ourselves American. We are Americans, right? That's what sets us apart from other countries, is that we've taken risk and we've done the things that most countries maybe they don't do. And so this, if this is nothing else to me, like, we can't say women aren't fit to lead the country, but then what are we saying? They're not fit to be mothers. We're saying they're not fit to work in these companies. They're not fit to lead our children. I mean, it's tough to me, like, when we say certain things that are being said, like, you hear it, you see it, we see it all over. Obviously, we watch the media. They're building these cases, and I'm going, so then what are we saying?
Yeah.
Our girls aren't sharp enough as
Exactly.
boys, or they can't. Other countries aren't going to respect a woman.
Really?
I don't think that has
Because
merit at all.
I think England didn't have no problem with Margaret Thatcher back in the back when
Right.
she was running things.
The
I mean,
queen.
it's silly. Every man sitting at this table right now has had a woman boss.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't think the world changed because of that. I mean, hell, probably my best boss was one of
by far.
the women that were in charge of me. One of the lady I got some significant leadership qualities from. So it's ridiculous. Like I said, it's just something people are saying and an excuse to make a horrible choice.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with who that person is, them being a woman or a man.
Exactly.
It's if
funny.
like I tell people all the time, man. I say, look, man, where we went wrong in America and how we got here is we didn't elect Hillary. We should have elected her. Everything was pointed that way. She was capable of doing the job, and she was really lined up to do it. We didn't do it because of that reason. People didn't want to vote for her because she was a woman, and they didn't like her. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what happened. But saying people who think like that, like they're not ready for a woman to be in charge in 2024, that's just, I don't know where they're getting that from. When you walk into your job, you got CEOs, hire people in the company that are women, been women, for the longest. That's a crazy argument.
Every other job in America, you have to be qualified to do the job. I mean,
Exactly.
education. You have to have some background and some history. It's not because if money was the thing, how many people would buy their way into
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just that's my issue with putting someone in office again who doesn't have the background or is not qualified in the topics or the issues. Yelling and going on social. That's just
Said that last week.
I will say this too. Like, I mean, Kamala has done. We talked about Kamala before and her accomplishments and why she's not a DEI hire is the video that we did. So check that out if you haven't. But at the end of the day, she has all of the qualifications to do the job. She's been vice president. The only job above that is president. So, damn, if she ain't qualified,
Who is?
Who is?
Right.
Okay, and to your point, it's sad that someone could go and say everything that they're going to do, have all the qualifications, go up there and articulate eloquently how the person is trying to help our country become a better place, help middle-class Americans. And at the end of the day, regardless of all the other things that have already been said, the only reason why somebody will not vote for that person is because of the genitalia between their damn legs.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the only reason. There ain't no other reason.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Or
you
one more
don't agree
reason.
with her policies, great. Understood. But if you say, I just can't have a woman in charge, that ain't acceptable no more.
I don't even argue with anybody who's not bringing logic from the standpoint of like doing their research and doing their homework and understanding, like, if you're not willing to take the time to understand what someone's doing, if and you're going on social rants and everything's about something that's just crazy, like it has nothing to even do with, which is all you see today. It's like that's all people do.
Yeah, when it's that time of the month, she might push the button.
And it's like, it's just wild stuff, man.
Crazy.
People are so vested. It goes back to
That's horrible.
it goes back to something I think most of us learned as kids, and I wish everyone would have learned this. Is like, what are you doing when people aren't looking?
Yeah.
What are the things that you're doing when there's not a social media camera or somebody's capturing? There's so many things that that
Exactly.
like that's just like, because at the end of the day, our presidents and our politicians aren't the ones that control everything that's happening within our communities. Like, we still play a part in that, and it goes to sum up everything. Like, we still own a big part and portion of that, and our alignment to our government and our politicians and the people that we put in the power is to make sure that their alignment is, again, going back to what I said, utilitarianism, their approach and how they're doing what's better for the greater good of society as a whole.
Yeah.
Not one segment of the population, not one demographic or any of those kind of things, one region within the map. It's who's going to make the best decisions for everybody holistically.
Yes.
And that's who we need to really align ourselves with and rally behind.
Yep.
And then from there, we still play a strong part within our communities in enforcing and making sure things are moving and operating accordingly.
Exactly.
And that's just how it has, that's the way it should be.
Yep. Agreed. So, man, this has been a great conversation, man. Look, I can't even tell you how much we appreciate you for coming on the show and sharing your expertise, your experience, your musical background, your opinions. It's been a fantastic show, man, and we hope to have you back one day. The door's always open to have you come back through. I'll be hitting you up at work and just sending you an IM or whatever. Hey, when you want to be on the show, bro?
Hey.
You got anything to add to that?
I'm
Ace?
about to go binge watch Fatty Coop, man, just all the way through. Man.
Check it out. It's some good stuff, man.
Look, I mean, reality TV ain't my thing, but I'm gonna go check it out for real.
No, I appreciate
See what
that.
you're about, man. But no, definitely, man. No, it was very enlightening, man. Just sitting with you here today, man. Especially the takeaways I got out of it, man. And I think a big message, especially, and I think, like I said, once again, I'm really big on the black males, the youth, the young males that just have no drive, or they or whatever reason they're I guess misled in a way. You talking to a brother here that got a record deal, did that, got a PhD, was successful at it. But one thing that I take from him that he did that I see a lot of people aren't doing is he took that risk himself. He didn't lay that burden on anybody else in his family to do that for it. He was successful for it. Fortunately, that went way with it. But even when he decided to get out of it, there was another avenue that he did. So, and that's it. So, like I said, black girls are getting the memos. These young guys need to get it and realize that they need to start stepping up and doing some of the things they need to do to be successful. So powerful show, man. I loved it.
No, and I'm blessed and thankful as always, man. You gave me the call and said, "Hey, let's do this, man." And I said, "Hey, I'm ready." No doubt. So I'm always thankful. It was absolutely a pleasure sitting here and fellowshipping and having this conversation. And my takeaway again is the same. We control the narrative. I don't put anything in anybody else's hands. I don't feel like anybody's holding me back or stopping me from my success. I feel like any hurdle or obstacle that's put in my way is just another way for me to figure out a clever way to get around it, or to figure out what's my next step. And sometimes it is stopping and realizing, what, maybe that's not for me. Maybe what I thought I wanted is not really what, because now I'm becoming more informed to understand what's the resistance and what's blocking me. Yeah. But what's greater than that? What can I create now? Because hey, we're creators. I'm sitting at a table full of guys who are thinkers and creatives. And I know that to be one of the strongest things that I've encountered being around other black males is that our ability to create culture, create things that people are using today. I mean, every time I turn around, it's something that I see from people that look like me, where have figured out something. And the creative part of it is just as exciting because then you can figure out a different way to go about doing something that
Yep.
where now you have maybe a little bit more ownership in what it is that you're doing. You know, music, we always talk about owning your masters. Well, you can't do that if you're always running to sign somebody else's paper, somebody else's deal, and you're taking the money, whatever money they putting on the table. But if you figure out a way to create and get the people to come to you, now you own your own masters.
Yeah.
You know, so that roadblock that where maybe someone's not signing you, hit it. That's an opportunity for you to create your avenue because now there's tools to do that where we didn't have that 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And the same thing with education. Don't look at certain roadblocks and feel like, oh, I just have to just go. You know, it's like that. You know, I joke about kids cartoons, but they're so prevalent to life because the creatives in there, they use those subliminal things that's happening. So
As a kid, you don't know what the hell they talking about, but as an adult, you like,
that's, you know,
yeah.
look at trolls. You know, you see trolls, the people, you know, they're like, we only have one day of fun, and it's like, wait a minute, you can create what fun looks like for you. You just got to figure out, you know, what that is.
Yeah.
And so
You can tell you got kids, man. You got here with that.
man, I'm sitting up there. I engage with my kids and I see the things that they're into, and I try to get involved and get acclimated with what they're doing. And yeah, man, it every now and then, man, you kind of get wrapped into it, and sometimes it's a little bit more because it's like wait a minute, they trying to teach y'all too much. Like, oh,
Hold up, trolls.
they separating the blue troll from wait, time out. Hey, hold up,
It's
up,
racism.
hey, it's getting a little too crazy in here. I don't need let's pause on the
man.
brakes now.
Hey, man. So, hey, I appreciate you brothers for being on the show. Ace, as always, man. Every week hanging out with this dude, and we'll have you back, Dr. B. So, I want to thank everybody out there on social media for checking us out and hanging out with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Me and my wife got things to do during Labor Day. So 2 weeks, we'll see you again for the next live stream. We out.
Peace.